One Piece: The Legend of Creation, Chapter 601 to 620. 601, 601 You Can't Die With Me. Really, it's a pity that you don't have a next time, Raging Flame Dragon Tooth. Tianbei Shouju sneered, and a burst of flame burst out from the shield-shaped opening at the upper end of the Thunder Fire Karma in his hand, followed by a raging fire. I saw Tianbei Shusuke roared, stepping on Shunbu and rushing towards Kurosaki Ichigo with an indomitable ferocity. The hard ground under his feet had been pulled out by a gap. Obviously he was planning to win the game with one blow. Crescent Moon Sky Chong. Kurosaki Ichigo also had the same plan. He knew very well that his avatar wouldn't last long, and his mask was about to fall, so he learned to avatar, and soon he cast the original masked army to help him. The virtual extension training is just that he simply learned to become virtual, and he can't repair the mask at all, at least he can't do it now. It is very difficult for him to even keep the last small mask. Although he doesn't want to admit it, he also knows that he can still be in a virtual state. The reason why Bai Yihu in the body is shooting, so he sees Tianbei Shusuke's plan to hit points. He was so happy to win or lose. That caused the air to be burned so that Vivi Twisted covered the body of Leihui Yanwan, and with the continuous spiritual pressure installation of Tianbei embroidery, it became more and more vigorous. Boom! With a huge impact, the black crescent moon and the yellow-red flames raged directly on one side of this piece of land, directly blowing up smoke and dust in the sky, and at the same time, the ground underfoot shattered into countless fast stone slabs. A circle, the air waves of the circle swayed out in all directions. It was at the same time that some Shinigami captains of the Gotei 13 division, such as Hitsugaya, Yukataki Shiruro Kyoraku Chunsui, and other Shinigami also arrived. The outcome was also decided at this time. Kurosaki Ichigo's last mask was pierced, and he directly exited the virtual state. At this time, he could no longer use the power of the Zanpakuto and suffered serious injuries. Bankai State because there is no extra Reiatsu support, and at the same time has suffered a relatively serious injury. Of course, because there is no Reiki, the pressure was maintained, and the lightsaber of the Taper Yaodao disappeared, leaving only the wounded Black Claws. It's not over yet, the revenge of killing my father, damn you Onlujai. But when he saw the figure of the old man Yamamoto, with the hatred in his heart, he suddenly stood up and staggered towards the old man Yamamoto. Originally, he could dodge, but he didn't dodge, and even made the other Death God captains not allowed to shoot, letting Tianbei stab him with the Zanpakuto. Seeing that his Zanpakuto successfully pierced his enemy for many years, he couldn't help showing a smug, relaxed smile. Even if he died, it didn't matter, at least he had already avenged it. But soon he was in pain. Shuru Yukataki replaced the position that should belong to Yaiki in the original book, and explained, Tianbei Shusuke certainly didn't believe it at first, but his reason was there. He always felt that something was wrong, but he didn't think about it because he was blinded by the resentment in his heart. Now that Shuru Yukataki said this, he has seen the sky clear of the clouds and fog, and completely understands that this old man with such a powerful strength in front of him can kill himself even if he loses his Zanpakuto, but he doesn't shoot. Instead, he even allowed himself to stab him with a knife. It turned out to be so that he could vent the resentment in his heart, so he could be more awake, and then he could listen to Shiruro Yukataki's explanation. Looking at the high-ranking commander in front of him, Tianbei Shusuke only felt that his unconsciously, the back has been bent a little. At this time, he was no longer the captain of the Megatron side, but a poor old man who couldn't even keep his own disciple, and even wanted to kill his own disciple to free him. So that's the case. No wonder you have always said how great your teacher is, how great your teacher is. He has suffered so much and killed his apprentice with his own hands. He is unwilling, angry, and resentful to carry so many things. He can still keep it. With reason, I have not gone the wrong way, compared to me. Tianbei Shusuke recalled the words his father often said about old man Yamamoto in his ears. At this moment, he deeply understood what these words meant. Although he has only been the captain for a month, he already understands how hard it is, not to mention that everyone's eyes are on him, and he must pay attention to his words and deeds. You are ashamed. Forgive the old man. The old man is the captain, but because of this, he couldn't even save his own disciple and you. The old man is powerless. The old man Yamamoto was not angry. For the first time, he felt that he hated the position of commander-in-chief so much, first his own disciple, and then his own disciple's son. He had the strength to hug Tianbei Shisuke, but he couldn't do it. What Tianbei Shisuke did has exceeded the bottom line of the Soul realm, and it can even be said to be a rebellion, to the extent that it is no less than what Aizen and others have done. If he protects Tianbei Shoju, what will the god of death in the Soul realm think? Who else would abide by the laws of the Soul Society? And Tianbei Shisuke did not have the strength of Lu Chenggong and others, so only death awaited him. Although he has only been in contact with Tianbei Shoju for a long time, he has already understood the person of this god of death. Like his father's own disciples, he is a strong person. He realizes his mistakes and will definitely use all means to remedy it. Even if you give your own life, it will not change. What are you going to do? Ichigo Kurosaki watched Tianbei Amusuke pull out his Zanpakuto and put it on the ground. A circle of fire appeared under his feet. He has his own dignity. Jingle Chunshui sighed. He and Shuru Yukitaki were the disciples of the old man Yamamoto, and they were also the brothers of Tianbei Embroidery's father. He looked at this man who could be regarded as his own nephew. How could his heart be forgiven when the god of death went to death, but unfortunately he couldn't do anything about it. Baifu, a ray of light with a surname bit like a giant beast on the head of Tianbei Shisuke, who was about to be surrounded by flames, causing him to fall into a coma for a moment. It also disappeared. Tianbei, you can't die without me. Lu Chenggong suddenly appeared on Tianbei Shisuke's body. Looking at this former kid, this kid also has a lot of feelings for himself, so Lu Chenggong he didn't stop him, and Tianbei Shisuke was so unscrupulous because he knew that Lu Chenggong would not stop him. 602 Lu Chenggong's edge. Speaking of which, it is quite strange. Back then, Lu Chenggong was very sharp at the Central Academy of Spiritual Arts, and he was always in the limelight. Of course, he also had many admirers, one of whom was Tianbei Embroidery. This kid knew that he was thinking hard about Bankai. After that, he actually sneaked back and got a piece of information about Renji from his father. Although it is not as precious as the Bankai materials of the four great nobles, it can only be regarded as an entry, but to countless civilians, it is a treasure-like existence, and it did help Lu Chenggong at that time a lot, saving a lot of money. Therefore, Lu Chenggong felt that he owed this fan a favor. So many years ago, he made a decision to save his life at this time. As for the father who originally wanted to save Tianbei Shisuke, it was a pity that he had already defected at that time, and he could not do anything at all. And it was too late when he found out that Tianbei Shou helped his father's accident, so he could only put the favor on him and return it to him. It's you. Because Lu Chenggong controlled his strength, Tianbei Shoju quickly came to his senses. Looking at this person who he admired so much, he didn't know what to say, even if he grew up a person whom he admires very much. It's a pity that he didn't know what to say for a while. After all, he is now the public enemy of the Soul Society. He really doesn't want people to know that he is the idol of Lu Chenggong in front of him. Obviously, he didn't want to let some people in the Soul Society have bad views on Lu Chenggong to affect Lu Chenggong because of his own reasons. You used to jump at me when you saw me. You are my biggest fan. Lu Chenggong chuckled, his right hand lightly touching Tianbei Shisuke's taper knife. Ah! Tianbei Shou cried out in pain, and under the surprised eyes of the captains of the death gods, once it was put on, Chungyuan couldn't take it off unless the dead taper knife actually broke layer by layer and turned into powder. Disappeared immediately. This thing is just a sideshow, it is harmful to one's own strength and is not beneficial. Lu Chenggong didn't care about the surprised eyes of the people around him, and then used a ghost method that he learned from Ujawali to heal the injury and restore the spiritual pressure at the same time. This ghost path is Maujawali's housekeeping skills in the treatment department. Of course, it was given to Lu Chenggong as a dowry. In the original work, Hana Lai, who left to find Wangshu to fight, and the only one left behind went to the virtual circle. When he returned to the world with Kurosaki Ichigo, he used this ghost way to restore Kurosaki Ichigo to his spirit. Pressure. Liu Chengkong, who knew the inside story, of course also knew that Maojawali at the time of the original book was just an avatar of the main body, and this ghost path has the function of healing wounds in addition to restoring spiritual pressure, and it consumes very little of its own spiritual pressure. Is indeed a very powerful ghost. Does old man Yamamoto regret it? Now do you know why I refused you to be the captain since a long time ago? It's too annoying. Just be free, do what you like to do, just as well, just rely on yourself. It suits me if I like this kind of life. It's too tiring like you. Ming has enough strength to keep his disciple and his disciple's son, but because of the position of the captain, you can't do it. Liu Chengkong turned around and looked at the old man Yamamoto, who was expressionless, but a bruise flashed across his eyes, and at the same time, the whole person looked even older. Everyone in the Soul Society, listen to me. Tian Beisho helped me to save it. He is also the captain of the Special Zou team. If anyone is not satisfied, come to me, Liu Chengkong. Liu Chengkong said. Regardless of the old man Yamamoto, he looked up to the sky and said. The voice was obviously not loud, but it spread throughout the entire Sarange. It was introduced into everyone's ears, and people were shocked like a thunderbolt, and at the same time, a terrifying spiritual pressure that changed the color of the world, Cheyenne, was over the entire Jingling court. Chengkong's wife and some targets he wants to overthrow, including the old Yamamoto Ichigo Kurosaki and all the gods of death, he only feels that his soul is about to collapse. He couldn't do it with a single finger, and at this moment Liu Chengkong's sharp edge made the entire Jingling court tremble, and no one dared to touch his edge. How, am I still worthy of your admiration now? Liu Chengkong suddenly retracted his spirit pressure and smiled at Tianbei Embroidery, who had fully recovered, and looked at him with a look of admiration, just like when he was a child. I was very proud of myself. No wonder those stars liked to pretend to be so much when they were on Earth in their previous lives. You have always been the strongest in my heart. Tianbei Shusuk said what he often said when he was a child. He was right. In his opinion, the strongest person is not the captain, not his father but the man in front of him. It's just that he didn't expect that the man in front of him would dare to make such a move when he was the public enemy of the Soul Society. It moved him very much, and he was so excited that he blurted out as if he was back in his childhood. Live it well, I can help you once but not for the rest of your life. Sometimes you have to rely on yourself. Don't commit suicide. You are the last bloodline of your father left in the world. After Liu Chengkong finished speaking, as a gust of wind blew, he was still standing in front of him but suddenly disappeared. Just like when he came, no one felt how he came, and no one felt how he walked. Tianbei, it seems that your vision is really good. You have seen his achievements so early. Now he is really too strong. It has only been a long time. He is like a god in front of me. Jingle Chunshui was not angry, but was very happy. With Liu Chengkong's words and the lingering Tianbei embroidery that contained a warning, he didn't have to die. Seeing that his only son of SD, junior and younger brother, could of course he was happy that he survived. As soon as Jingle Chunsui said these words, Hitsugaya Toshiro and Kurosaki Ichigo who were once defeated by him, he lost after he became Shiro Ichigo, so they were one household anyway, had extremely heavy faces, especially Kurosaki Ichigo. He thought that he had learned to blur the strength, even if he was not comparable to those powerful death gods, he would not be too far behind. It's just that the current self is still like an ant in front of him. It's really ironic that every time he thinks he has become stronger, but when he compares with him, he realizes that he has never seen through Liu Chengkong, and the stronger he becomes, the better. I can feel his horror. This old man is really envious. The old man Yamamoto sighed in his heart and said something. In fact, his heart is not as happy as Jingle Chunshui, but so many people here are watching, he can't show it. But if you pay attention, you can still see a hint of joy deep in his eyes. 603 Nyan Dream's Strong Kiss. Really? Master Changkong, can you really turn me into a real soul? Ni Yanmeng looked at Lu Chengkong with a happy face and said, it has always been only when facing Landau and Lu Chengkong to play her. The expression changed, and Ni Yanmeng, who is usually expressionless, reacted greatly. It's no wonder that although Ni Yanmeng was brought by Lu Chengkong not long after she was born and did not suffer the tragic life of the original book, she has always had a regret in her heart, that is, she is the righteous skeleton technology and the righteous soul technology. Produced from the essence. No matter how similar or even the same as the real god of death, as a researcher, she is still very aware that there is a huge gap between herself and the real god of death in the essence of the soul structure. Even the control gloves are used. It's a pity that Wanling's spirit-controlling gloves can't break up Ni Yanmeng and return to the state of Spirit Sun. In the end, Landau guessed the conclusion after some research. It turned out that Ni Yanmeng was worried that Ni Yanmeng betrayed him. The control actually placed a strange restraint when constructing her soul, and that restraint had completely merged with the soul to become one. Even if Ni Yuli is resurrected, he can't lift it, and this restriction can't break her apart from making Ni Yuli's mind die, or letting Ni Yanmeng fall into the hands of other researchers. The soul also means that she cannot return to the spirit child state and reorganize. Because Nirvana Dream is created by the essence of Hei skeleton technology and righteous soul technology, it can be said that anyone who is a researcher with a little technology can make Nyan Dream reincarnate as a spiritual child, which is different from death, void, and human. The soul structure of Nyan Dream is easy to crack. In order to prevent Nyan Dream from falling into the hands of others, to break Nyan Dream and obtain such a technology, Ni Yuli only moved his hands on Nyan Dream's soul. It can be said that it is impossible for Nyan Dream to fall into anyone's hands. Let it return to the spirit child to get the technology to make her. Once Nirvana Dream, who is now doing hands and feet, disperses her soul, then her soul will disappear instantly without leaving any spiritual child, and it will dissipate directly. Therefore, the control glove can't work. For this reason Ni Yanmeng was secretly sad many times. But she never blamed Ni Yuli. Even if he was different, he made his own father, and he was already dead. In Ni Yanmeng's eyes, the lights went out, and at the moment Ni Yuli died, even if his soul was touched by her, everything had vanished. After his death, Ni Yanmeng has filtered out everything about Newly, and even Newly's resurrection now has nothing to do with her Ni Yanmeng. She will not blame Newly, nor will she resent Newly, just treat it as if the past is like a smoke and it's related to Namori and forget everything. This is also what Landau taught her, and she has lived a different life from the original since she was a child. She has been exposed to different things and gained knowledge of different environments. She obviously felt that this was indeed the best choice, and she did the same. Originally, she was desperate and didn't hold any hope. Anyway, she was not bad, and it was no different from a normal death god, but it was fundamentally different. Now suddenly hearing Lu Chengkong say this is of course a gaffe, but Ni Yanmeng can't control it. So many. Of course, if it was before, I didn't have any way, but after I made a breakthrough not long ago, I realized that a ghost way should be able to do it. Unfortunately, the repair of Inoue's instant shield and 6 flowers can only restore the protection things to the state before the destruction event occurred. Your soul is not damaged at all. Even if it is damaged, the forbidden blank is restored. Otherwise, Gui will have to wrap it up, but it is a pity that your soul is not defective or damaged, but the prohibition that accompanies your soul at the same time, forget it. Don't talk about this, let's take away the prohibition in your body first. Lu Chengkong found that she had electricity, but Ni Yanmeng shook her head to show that she didn't care. Now she is full of hope and excitement, thinking of what Lu Chengkong said to her the night she overthrew Landau. That concerned look made her feel a little bit of joy in her heart. She didn't expect that she would make the man in front of her care so much. Ghost Dao Forbidden Technique, Forbidden Deprivation. Lu Chengkong signaled Ni Yanmeng to relax. Don't resist. He stretched out his hand and pressed on her little head, and suddenly displayed a ghost path ranked among the forbidden techniques. From this, it can be seen that the ghost way is powerful, and it can be said that as long as the ghost way is related to the word forbidden art, it is an otherworldly existence. Not everyone can perform it. It can be said that in order to exert the full power of a forbidden ghost, one must have the strength to break the limit and reach Scrito. Of course, the old man Yamamoto who was blessed by the Spirit King is an exception. I saw that Ni Yinmeng's body was suddenly surrounded by circles of gray light, and soon as the light became stronger and stronger, the nearby Orchid Island ran over at once, but after seeing that it was Lu Chengkong, I felt relieved. With a sigh of relief, she thought that her daughter, Ni Yinmeng, would do something dangerous because of the restraint of the soul in her body, but now it seems to be all right. At the same time, she is also a little curious about what Lu Chengkong is doing. Suddenly, Ni Yinmeng cried out in pain, but remembering what Lu Chengkong had said before, and her desire to become the same as the god of death, plus her trust in the man in front of her, she clenched her silver teeth very strongly, but she never let out the second time. Screams of pain. Chop! Lu Chengkong shouted suddenly, and in an instant the light on Ni Yinmeng's body burst out, and at the same time, the gray light on her body disappeared directly, replaced by a pale face, but in the eyes, it was flickering with excitement, joy, and even slowly, maybe even weeping with joy, I actually left 2 quotes in tears. Success, but it also comes at a price. I will gradually gather the prohibition that is one with your soul from one soul to one place, and directly cut off that part of the soul, although it will not affect your soul. It doesn't have any effect, but the strength you have cultivated before, including Zanpakuto, is gone. That is to say, you are just like a soul that has just descended to the soul world. You have no power to fight chickens. This is the price of losing that part of your soul. Now you can use the glove to become a real god of death. No longer it is a life composed of the essence of the righteous skeleton technology and the righteous soul technology. However, when you became a real Shinigami, you lost your previous power, but you can rebuild the Zanpakuto, etc., and you can reawaken it. It is even stronger than the previous Zanpakuto. After all, you were not a real Shinigami before, although you still have Zanpakuto. Pakuto, but the power is definitely not as complete as the real Shinigami, and the training speed is faster than before. Lu Chengkong carefully observed Ni Yinmeng, and found that Ni Yinmeng was not at all lost. Perhaps in Ni Yinmeng's view, losing strength in exchange for such benefits is simply a great good thing, so Lu Chengkong is also completely at ease. Down. Ni Yinmeng, who was bowing her head and sobbing, suddenly raised her tearful little head, was surprised by Lu Chengkong, and suddenly hugged Lu Chengkong excitedly under Lan Dao's funny gaze. Passionate and hot, but very unfamiliar, he offered his first kiss, and accomplished a feat. He kissed Lu Chengkong forcefully. This kiss contained too many emotions, including gratitude, joy, and hilarity. And a touch of sweetness. 604-605 Confess Maujawali. Have you heard? First, the leader of Hapengu is always the same, and the 10th Division is suspected of being a traitor. The captain is missing. Later, the leader of the Beijing band was attacked by an unknown person and was seriously injured. Later, the captain of Shanghai went to dispatch. I actually found out that it is the Reiatsu of Hinarumaru, and then the Zanpakuto of Captain Hitsugaya. Do you think it will be Captain Hitsugaya? There have been several major events in Jinglingting in the past few days, which caused the death of many divisions to discuss secretly and talk about it. Lu Chengkong and Sophie, who shared previous memories and knew the original story of the death, immediately understood what it was. One thing, 2 ice wheel pills appeared. It's about time. Lu Chengkong disappeared in place with a swipe. Lu Chengkong's figure in the office of the 4th Division, but the target was not Karatsu Uno, but a blonde royal sister with the same hot body as Ranju Matsumoto. Although a pair of plump and proud people is not as good as Matsumoto Ranju and Nellie L, it definitely surpasses Inoue Orihime and Shifunjin Yoichi. However, Matsumoto Ranju is tall, plump, noble, charming and pure coexist, plus a little daughter's cuteness, plus she has recently begun to appear a kind of graceful and luxurious atmosphere only on the body of Ujawali, giving people a kind of charming to the extreme, but not generous and upright. But the blonde royal sister in front of her is taller than Matsumoto Ranju, who is 172 centimeters, but the woman in front of her is obviously more than 1.8 meters tall, and although her figure is hot, it makes people fascinated. She has big breasts and buttocks, but her first impression is not her appearance and figure, but the holy, noble, solemn and inviolable feeling on her body. Lu Chenggong felt this when he saw her. A familiar breath made him spit out 3 words, Khalifa. Who is Khalifa? The royal lady in front of her, who was full of holiness like a saint of light, looked at the man in front of her strangely, feeling the terrifying sense of oppression hidden in him, so she didn't dare to be presumptuous, but when she heard that the man in front of her called herself Khalifa, she still asked in confusion, that's not her name. It's nothing, it's just that your bright, holy, saintly-like temperament is very similar to one of my wife, and she also exudes this kind of aura. Lu Chenggong didn't lie. Although Khalifa finally replaced the fruit of nothingness, the fruit of light had taken root in her soul for a long time. The temperament she cultivated not only did not disappear with the fruit of light, but after eating the fruit of nothingness, a faint, mysterious aura appeared on her body, and the holy and solemn aura on her body combined to make Khalifa even more beautiful. And the royal sister in front of her actually gave her the same feeling as Khalifa, but it was a little less mysterious and indifferent, and more solemn and majestic. You don't see the beautiful young lady saying that, do you? Maoji Walai's voice suddenly came from Lu Chenggong's hand. The blonde royal sister's face changed slightly after hearing the words. Her eyes were full of respect and admiration towards Maoji. Walai half knelt down. Her actions immediately made Lu Chenggong understand her identity. Although she didn't know her name, she was definitely a member of Team Zero, and not a member of Team Zero who was loyal to King Spirit, but a member who was loyal to Ujawali. Why, look. Lu Chenggong stretched out his hand and motioned Maojawali to put his mind into the ring. Riveting, Chenggong released the restriction on the ring that only he could see, Maojawali. Lu Chenggong gave Lu Chenggong a blank look, and then curiously probed TSS with his mind. What surprised her was that inside the ring was a space the size of at least half a city that could be called a paradise, and inside there were many sleeping beauties squinting and sleeping. Soon she saw Khalifa, one of the blonde beauties. Although she was asleep, her invisible breath was very similar to the blonde royal sister in front of her. Forget it, you didn't lie to me this time, but what's the matter with them? Mao Zihua nodded with satisfaction. White eyes stared over. There is no need for me to hide now. In fact, I am not a person from this world. I come from another plane. In that world, I am the strongest standing at the top, fighting a creature from a different plane. In the end, before dying, a black hole-like existence was released and sucked me in, and then unexpectedly came to this plane. Quote. Lu Chenggong's words made Maojawali's expression very exciting. There were surprises, differences, curiosity, and sudden realization. It turned out that Lu Chenggong used to be the strongest in a plane, so it is no wonder that he rose like this before he came to this world. So fast, combat experience and consciousness seem to exist naturally, so it is. Could it be that the overall strength of your world is weak? Why did I see your world for the first time and found that you were no different from a soul? And Bachenliu also belongs to your world. Mao Zihua was very interested. Obviously, it was the first time she heard these topics. She was also full of curiosity and yearning for the world of other planes, but it was not so simple to travel through planes. First of all, the most basic thing is to be able to break the laws of the plane world in which it is located to achieve plane shuttle, and this level of strength can only travel to nearby planes at most. No, I only met Bachenliu after I came to this world, and it's not very weak. There are devil fruit abilities similar to Zanpakudo. There are all kinds of strange things, but of course the overall strength is not comparable to the world of Death God. At least there the space barrier is not as strong as here, so I think the powerhouses in this world are stronger than ours. As for my strength, it is because I do not belong to the creatures of this world. After coming to this world, under the influence of the rules of this plane world, all the strength of my beings who do not belong to this world will be wiped out, unless I can break it one day. The rules of this world, otherwise those forces that do not belong to this world will never be able to come back. Lu Chenggong knows that he has nothing to hide today, let alone his own strength, Just his harem army in the world of the god of death has been able to sweep the world of the god of death, and this is the first in the world of the god of death to let himself an amp. Of course, Lai Lu Chengkong, the flower of Maojihua, who gave his true feelings and coveted it so much, knew all about it. Listening to what you said, I really want to go to your world and other worlds, and see all kinds of customs. Originally, I was still a little confused about the path of cultivation after Ling Shu, but now hearing you say this, I suddenly realized something. Breaking the rules of this world is my current cultivation goal. 605-606 Hikun Kiryu. Maojawali's sweet smile, anger and frown, made the blonde royal sister, who would show such a state of mind for the first time, stunned. World, the supreme existence of the spirit king realm, Maojawali. How can a mother who is as approachable and approachable as her own children, but also a wife who is coquettish and flirtatious to her husband, makes Sister Blonde you fall into a sluggish state? Stop talking about those Shanfeng years. Let's talk about her, godmother. Who is she? She should be a member of Team Zero. Lu Chengkong turned the topic to the blonde royal sister in front of him. By the way, Lord Ujua, the Spirit King has locked down the Spirit King realm, and no one can enter the Spirit King realm, nor can anyone from the Spirit King realm come out of the Spirit King realm. And the King of Spirit, who didn't know what to do crazy, came back and kept summoning some retired team members who used to be Team Zero, as well as some players who had not been able to keep up with the strength after entering Team Zero were summoned, but after the summoning, the god of death all disappeared without exception, never to be seen again. Originally, he also summoned me, but I saw that the opportunity was wrong and I used it. The thing you gave me broke the Spirit King realm and escaped, and the Spirit King seemed to be unable to control his own spiritual pressure. It used to be unfathomable and unfathomable. The detected spiritual pressure was like a light bulb raging in the entire Spirit King realm for a while. After Lu Chengkong said this, the blonde royal sister immediately came back to her senses, and hurriedly reported some important things to Ujawali. It seems that the Spirit King should have some understanding after fusion injury, but in order to recover faster and have a greater chance to make breakthroughs, I think those gods of death that he summoned should have been swallowed by him to recover their injuries at the same time. Accumulate more powerful spiritual pressure to break through the high-level Spirit King in order to reach the peak of the Spirit King. Quote, Wujawali is indeed worthy of being Wujawali. After so many years as the leader of the Zero Division, how could she not understand the thoughts of this rotten guy, Spirit King? For the Spirit King, as long as he can improve his strength, no matter how shameless, no matter how dirty he is, even if he devours his own son or wife, he can make a breakthrough without changing his face. It's a pity that the Spirit King does not have a wife or son. Therefore, he can only choose those retired Shinigami who, in his opinion, are about to die and have little use value, and some members of Team Zero who have insufficient potential. Spirit King really has a thick face and a black heart, but such a person can live the most nourishing life in any world, in any era, anywhere. Lu Chengkong secretly said admiration, but he didn't think there was anything wrong with King Spirit. The world was so cruel. If Rugao couldn't be cruel to other people and be cruel to himself, it would be better to be an ordinary person and look for it honestly. An ordinary wife for a lifetime. Indeed, it was not unreasonable for the Spirit King to let the Soul realm overtake the Void Circle. Even if I wasn't there, the Soul King would have the upper hand in the battle between the Soul realm and the Void Circle. Although the Corpse Soul world is not as good as the Virtual Circle, the Corpse Soul world has a set of plans, regulations, and team disciplines that belong to its operation. These may not experience any major effects in normal times, but in the successful it can be experienced when tens of thousands of gods of death and emptiness are fighting. Mao Zihualai said in agreement that although she was not ashamed and disgusted by the person of King Ling, she did not deny the merit of killing King Zhang. Stop talking about that, let's talk about that Wang Yin. That thing can really transform time and space and even make good use of it to give the enemy a fatal blow and restore things. Lu Chengkong recalled what the original book said about Wang Yin. Introduce, if that is the case, such an awesome 13th secret treasure, the King of Souls, should be cut and used by himself. PFF'd. Who knew that Ujua burst out laughing, and as her body shook up and down, even if she could make her dick pass by, Lu Chengkong moisture became even bigger, and it was a little bit bigger than Matsumoto Ranju. The robes that were covered by the super couldn't hide it now, and a pair of huge meatballs went up and down, and there were circles of milk waves. Why are you so stupid again? What's the use of that thing? Although the hidden power is really good, beyond the general captain level, it should allow the user of the cut to have the strength of the late captain and form a small space. As for you, what are you talking about? Transforming space and time, and restoring everything. Don't laugh. All that is only based on the fact that the power in the body of the king cannot be restored. When the little guy with Hiranwan was defeated and executed by Hitsugaya Toshiro, he was only around the vice captain, and his soul was not completely after the collapse. Wang Yin can of course resurrect him. If he has more strength than the captain level, even if he recovers Wang Yin, he will not have much power. As for the conversion of space and time, it is even simpler. That's just the ability to integrate the ability similar to the broken face and black cavity into the king's seal. Can't we also use the ghosts of time and space? Anyone whose strength surpassed the time and space used by any death god before the death god captain reached the limit of void and death god in the later stage is no longer comparable to Wang Yin's so-called ability to transform space and time. Of course, it is indeed a rare treasure for the general captain level, but if you look at any death god in the spirit king realm, this is just a tasteless existence. Of course, the spirit king throws it away without any invitation. Let alone a god of death at our level. Ujawali's words made Lu Chengkong's face turn a little red, and he smiled awkwardly. He seemed to be really confused by the superficial resemblance. Thinking about it, if it was really that exaggerated, Sojiro, the crown of the grass, wouldn't be caught by Hitsugaya. Killed with Kurosaki Ichigo. The king seal that Niyuli said has the power of a god in a certain space, but it's just based on his strength, let alone himself. Even many of his wives can easily be beheaded with the power of the king seal. The god of death or emptiness. Thinking about this now, it is true that the captains below the peak of Captain Death or the Void King seal are indeed artifacts, and even for them it is indeed the power of a god, but it is a tasteless existence for those who have surpassed the late Captain Death. It's not a pity to abandon it. Stop talking about this. Who is this beauty? Godmother, won't you introduce me? In order to hide his embarrassment, Lu Chengkong could only turn the topic to the blonde royal sister again. I remember why you ate Orihime and the others last night, and you want to fight someone else's idea so soon. HMPH, she is one of your godmother's subordinates, even if she is in the zero team under the vice captain. Among all the team members below, Hekafuna Kiryu can also be ranked in the top 3. Quote. That's right. Hanalu and Kiryu Hazun are the two women who had a conversation in a secret and dark hilltop in the Soul Society. It was of course the captain of Team Zero who called Kurosaki Ikiryu a rubbish to let him live a little longer. Uno no Hanalai, as his subordinate, of course, is Kiryu Hazun. 606-607 Kissing Maojawali. Maojawali gave Lu Chengkong a wink full of electricity, which made Lu Chengkong almost couldn't help promiscuous in the daytime, but in the end he was able to control it with supreme willpower. Isn't it? She is Kiryu Hekafuna, who has only heard of the name and never met her in the original book, the god of death who made this violent woman in Hyo look up to her like a mother. But her holy, solemn and inviolable aura is really easy. It's no wonder that Hiyori admires her so much. Lu Chengkong's eyes widened as he saw that this original book had never appeared before, and even the name had appeared in a picture, but Kiryu Hazun, who was not low in popularity, said in his heart. Still staring at others, do you want me to help you as a matchmaker? Maojawali saw Lu Chengkong staring at his subordinates for a while, not only not angry, but also not jealous. He smiled and said to Lu Chengkong, only but behind her, there was a huge ghost face that only Lu Chengkong could see, which made Lu Chengkong come back to his senses immediately. Without saying a word, ignoring Hikaru Kiryu's close to collapse, Gui's gaze directly hugged Ujawali in his arms, kissed her delicate red lips, and fully tasted the fragrance of Ujawali, while the Ujawali Libat also seemed to have forgotten the existence of Hazun Kiryu and unexpectedly kissed Lu Chengkong involuntarily. The huge ghost face behind him disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. From this, it can be seen that as long as he becomes his wife and has the man he loves, even Uno Hanalei likes the man he loves to coax him. And she obviously enjoys the excitement, sweetness, and kiss brought by Lu Chengkong, who is both her godson and her husband in front of her. Let's sleep together tonight with a big quilt. Lu Chengkong looked down at Mao Zhawali's pretty face like flowers. Her brows were full of spring, the spring emotion was surging, and her charming eyes were like silk, and she blew softly in her ear. Said in one breath, the latter did not say anything but gave Lu Chengkong a charming look. The meaning contained in it was only understood by Lu Chengkong. When Lu Chengkong left, the brows were full of spring, the spring waves filled the air, and the reddish peach cheeks disappeared in an instant, and returned to the usual old-fashioned smile. The speed of change is really scary. Obviously, she used her actual actions to show that her appearance just now will only be revealed when she is in front of Lu Chengkong. As soon as Lu Chengkong left, she was no longer a sweet smile, charming, and like the mother and wife Lu Chengkong coaxed. Instead, she was calm, maintaining a gentle smile that was eternal and unrecognizable. At the same time, she is also the arrogant girl of the sky who kills decisively, and the former leader of the Zero Team, Mao Zhawali. My subordinates didn't see anything. Hazun Kiryu obviously knew Unahakar well, and he knew what to do and what to say, otherwise she would not be the only one who was chosen as his confidant subordinate for countless years. Of course, there are also reasons for her extraordinary aptitude, good opportunities, and hard work. Captain, but this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that Hibun Kiryu will be a person and do things. Even if it is an extremely subtle and dispensable little thing that she has done in the past few years after being selected by Uno Hanalei, she will spend her best efforts to complete that little thing to the best of her ability. It can be said that she is the god of death who pays the most attention to all details among the gods of death she has seen. No need, Hibun Kiryu, for the sake of your satisfaction over the years, I'll tell you, get ready, since you've been seen by him, he'll never let you go, he will also get you if he cheats, so soon you will be like me, so it doesn't matter if you see it or not. Quote. Ujawalai rubbed her head and said with a smile, but not saying her words made Hazun Kiryu shiver all over. The first words are not important, the most important thing is the last sentence, clearly saying that if it is not because of you in the future will become one of his women. Just what you saw just now is enough to make you disappear, even if it doesn't disappear, this memory will be erased. Although it is difficult and almost impossible to erase the memory of an existence that has become a god of death or a void, it is only in the eyes of ordinary people. Kiryu Hazun is very aware of the terrifying ability of this existence in front of her, which is not to her. It's not impossible, it's even just a not so difficult thing. You don't need to force yourself, and I won't force you, don't worry, I don't even bother to do this, and I believe I won't get it wrong. If he uses force or any means on you, you don't like to resist. If so, you can completely treat him as an enemy, you don't need to worry about me, and remember that what I say is the truth. Yes, my subordinates know. Although I think that what Azuki Hanariot said today is really absurd, but the absolute prestige built up over the years and her admiration for Azuki Hanariot also make she will unconditionally do as Uno Hanaritsu says. Just like Yi Yi's words made Sufeng die, Sufeng absolutely said nothing and wiped his neck without a trace of regret, sadness. Some are just happy, in their opinion, they can do it for the sake of Yi Yi Maoji in their hearts. Flower to die is a very high honor. At this rate, the big one will be around tomorrow. Sojiro Kusanagi and Toshiro Hitsugaya, they should come to the Soul realm. Hee, even just a small Wang Yin wants to destroy the Soul realm, just the old man Yamamoto is enough. You've had a drink. Lu Chengkong thought out loud in his heart, completely forgetting who was still puzzled by Wang Yin before. Strange, but now it has become so fast. It seems that it is not without reason that he and Mao Zhawali come together. Both of them said that they would change. Lord Chengkong. A sudden, timid voice came from behind Lu Chengkong, like a yellow warbler out of the valley. Looking back, it was the panting young Sentao, thinking that she was chasing him just now. It is also very hard to follow. What's wrong? Lu Chengkong was very strange. Usually, this bedwetting peach was more exaggerated when it saw him than a mouse saw a cat. Why did he take the initiative to look for him today when he changed his mind? It was the sun rising from the west. I have one thing I want to ask you. Lu Chengkong dared to look at it like this, and the conditioned reflex in Naomi remembered that. A pair of magical eyes that made him remember and feared so much that he even overcame all his painful eyes and events in the past in Kyoka Shueyu's super deep hypnosis that he had forgotten and was so scared that he couldn't speak clearly. But at this moment, a trace of regret flashed in her eyes, and she immediately became very firm and her speech became very clear. The inner demon formed by the fear brought by her eyes has improved her mood qualitatively, and her strength has been improved invisibly. 607-608 Young Mori Dao's request. Such an epiphany, the improvement of mood is enviable even the current Lu Chengkong, because for Lu Chengkong Maojawali, in addition to comprehending and developing some powerful abilities to enhance combat effectiveness and breaking through between life and death, there are also the only way to increase strength. That is the same as the experience of the current young Sentao, the breakthrough of the state of mind, that is, the word epiphany. This kind of improvement is an all-round improvement, which not only makes the control of the power in the body more perfect, but even improves the quality of his own strength. To use the words in the novel of self-cultivation, it is an epiphany, soaring in the daytime. From this, we can see the benefits brought by the epiphany. The epiphany has nothing to do with aptitude or talent, it is all about the person's fortune, chance, luck and perseverance. What's the matter? Lu Chengkong looked suspiciously at the little ant who had overcome the fear of his own demon eyes, but became interested. What could make her overcome her fear and dare to face him directly? I want you to save Xiaobai. Hina Sentao did not hesitate, she was obviously ready, and even read all the information she knew about Lu Chengkong since her appearance. She was very clear about playing tricks on the man in front of her. It's an idiot's behavior to play tricks, but he prefers to be straight. So that's why I said that there is something that can help you overcome the fear brought by the magic eye. It turned out to be Toshiro Hitsugaya, and now I finally remember this, who has been silently protecting you since before. Even if you are wielding a knife, you will never change relatives. Lu Chengkong grinned Isho, and his tone was a little sarcastic, making Hinatao pale as paper. Thinking of what she had done before, she only felt that her breathing was a little painful. Unfortunately, there is a saying that it is hard to catch water. Sometimes things that have been done can't be restored to the way they were before, no matter how much you change them later. At least when watching the anime and seeing Hinamori Momo wielding a knife at Hitsugaya, although the suspicion will be relieved in the future, Lu Chengkong knows what he asked for. In fact, there is an invisible but huge crack in the past suspicion. It can be seen from watching anime, let alone what he has seen and felt in this world at this time. Although Hitsugaya Toshiro has concealed it well, Lu Chengkong can see Hitsugaya Toshiro at a glance. In the depths of Lang's eyes, there was a trace of distrust, alertness, worry, and alienation when he looked at Hina Sendao. Although Hitsugaya is still very kind to Hinamori Dao on the surface, it is only due to the previous habit and the family that grew up together when I was a child. Possibly back to the way it was before. Others may not be able to see the subtle changes between Hitsugaya Toshiro and Hinamori Dao, but as a party, he grew up with Toshiro Hatsugaya since childhood, and Hinamori Dao, who knows him best, clearly feels that Toshiro Hitsugaya is obvious to her. There was a trace of alienation, and many times, I kept a little distance from her, intentionally or unintentionally. In the past, it was like the relatives who talked about everything without any scruples. The scene has completely disappeared. For this reason, she secretly regretted it many times. In the original book, there are Matsumoto Ranju, Aiz Naneo, Yakiryu, and Ni Yinmeng to accompany her, but now there is no one left. I want to beg you to save Xiaobai. Although she was very sad and regretful, she did not forget her purpose this time, and she would not foolishly get angry with the strongest man in the soul world in front of her, who was also her only hope. so she could only lower her head to prevent her from seeing her already red eyes. At this time, she finally fully understood the pain of Hitsugaya Toshiro at that time. It was definitely not something that she could compare to at that time. After she completely woke up, she secretly asked herself many times if she could treat herself like Xiaobai. In the end, she found that she couldn't do what Xiaobai did. Xiaobai never owed her anything, but she owed him too much. She knew that if she didn't do something, she would probably die of guilt. At this time, something happened to Hitsugaya Toshilang. She knew that the only man in front of the corpse soul who could keep Hitsugaya Toshilang safe was the man in front of him, so she immediately ran to him and even did everything she could. Cost. Why should I save him? Lu Chengkong saved Tianbei Shusuk because he was his admirer, fans, and secretly gave him a piece of information about Benkai for free when he needed help most. This kind of kindness has gone beyond the relationship between ordinary friends. Lu Chengkong has always thought that even if he is not a heinous villain, he is a villain with at least 5 evils. However, it is not his character to want to take revenge and not to repay the kindness. At least he thinks that he is definitely not a white-eyed wolf, so I will let Tianbei Embroidery help him live the life he likes and save his life within the best of his ability. Just like now, Tianbei Shouju's life is very happy now. After learning about him, countless death gods in the corpse and soul world not only did not keep a distance from him, but were moved by his actions to give everything to avenge his father. At least many gods of death in the soul world can't do this, so Tianbei Shusuke's reputation has not become a mess, but has improved compared to before. And Tianbei Embroidery is also very satisfied with his current life. His father's 2 brothers, Jingle Chunchui and Fuju Shuru, often help him. With Lu Chengkong's protection circle, he doesn't need any hiding. It can be put on the table, and although the old man Yamamoto is nothing on the surface, Tianbei Embroidery knows that this old man Yamamoto, who has always felt that he owes his father and son, often supports and guides him self-consciously or unintentionally. However, because of his identity, the old man Yamamoto did it in secret, but it also made Tianbei Amusuk very moved and happy. After losing his father, the family that he thought he would never feel again appeared again, but Hitsugaya Toshiro, it seems that it has nothing to do with the previous 8 poles. It seems that he doesn't need to care about his life or death, and Lu Chengkong knows that he should be fine in the end, so he can't make a move. As for the so-called saving him because Hitsugaya is an important popular character in the original book, Lu Chengkong even scoffs. Not to mention a popular character, even if the so-called protagonist has nothing to do with him, he will not frown even if he dies miserably. Young Sendao was at a loss for words. Although she was very unhappy, her reason told her that what Lu Chengkong said was wrong. Wrong. The whole world needs help from people, the people who help, the god of death. There are too many emptiness. Is it just because he asked Lu Chengkong to help? Then Lu Chengkong is no longer Lu Chengkong, but a Red Cross relief organization. 608-609 Aventure comes, I can't stop it. Then how can Lord Chengkong help Xiaobai? Young Sentao asked in a low voice. I feel pity for that pitiful appearance, but it's a pity that Lu Chengkong directly ignored it. As long as Lu Chengkong thought about it, he would no matter how beautiful a woman is standing in front of him, he can kill him without the slightest pity, let alone a young Sendao. He doesn't need my help, he is no longer a child since he picked up the Zanpakudo, not to mention that he is already a captain, and he has already been able to take charge of himself. Good. Lu Chengkong didn't lie, he didn't need to take action in this matter at all. In the end, Toshiro Hitsugaya would be fine, at least old man Yamamoto would have avoided the crime of Toshiro Hitsugaya without saying a word after he produced the exact evidence. Now there is no so-called 46 rooms. Therefore, there is no more rigid execution plan than before, and now it is the old man Yamamoto who is in charge. As long as there is definite evidence, even the execution he has determined can be overturned. For this reason, many gods of death in the soul world are very excited. Lu Chengkong said this, but when it fell into the ears of Hina Sentao, she thought she hated her and didn't want to take action. All of a sudden, she only felt that her heart was broken and expensive, and the whole world became dark. However, when she saw that Lu Chenghong was about to turn around and leave, there was a flash of clarity and a trace of shyness in front of her eyes. Obviously she thought of something, so she chased after it until she saw it when she returned to Lu Mansion. There was no one left or right nonsense. This is the government of the strongest god of death in the soul world. Who would dare to approach it if he was too long-lived? Hina Sendao immediately rushed over and hugged Lu Chenghong directly. In fact, Lu Chenghong had been until the young Sentao followed behind him, but he didn't say anything or drive her away. He really wanted to see how far this female character he disliked the most could do, and at the same time, he was very curious about her. What exactly do you want to do? Until the moment she rushed over, a sentence appeared in Lu Chenghong's brain: dedication. When it's really an affair, I can't stop it. I beg you, save him, or he will be executed. Young Sendao sobbed. In fact, she was in a panic and didn't know what to do. After all, she was indeed a relatively simple person. The girl of, although she often quizzes and knows about men and women, but she is inexperienced after all. How can this happen? I already said that he will be fine. No matter what he said, he is the genius death god holding the strongest Zanpakuto in the ice and snow type, and he is already the captain. Old man Yamamoto will not execute him for such a trivial matter. Lu Chenghong was a little speechless. It wasn't that he didn't make a move, but that he didn't need to make a move at all. Is it necessary for him to do something repeated? Doesn't he know that he rarely lies? He had already explained it so clearly, but young Sendao still didn't believe it, so Lu Chenghong couldn't help but wonder if his reputation and prestige were so bad. No one believes anything. How did he know that this little girl, Hina Moritao, likes to get into the horns again? At first, he was fooled by Aizen and thought Ichimaru Jin was the murderer. Later, he was fooled again by Aizen's letter and thought Hitsugaya Toshiro was the murderer. Better than a cow. Once she is determined, she will go on a rampage. She is now determined to think that Lu Chenghong is unwilling to take action because of her own reasons, or that she has not paid enough price. Otherwise, as long as she calms down and thinks about it carefully, she will understand. Riveting Chenghong, the words are true, but unfortunately, the current Hina Moridao is completely confused. How can she be calm? Hina Sentao didn't speak anymore, and let go of Lu Chenghong with one hand. Lu Chenghong was also relieved, although he likes beautiful women to dedicate themselves, but if this beauty has a certain purpose to dedicate herself, then it will be avoided. It's a pity. He just breathed a sigh of relief. The other hand that Hina Sentao didn't put down suddenly hugged Lu Chenghong tightly, and the free jade hand actually cast a barrier. Of course it wasn't trapping Lu Chenghong, even if the barrier she released at the cost of her own life would only be as long as Lu Chenghong's VV could be shattered if he released a little spiritual pressure. Moreover, Lu Chenghong did not feel any restraint or defensiveness from this barrier. Obviously, this barrier is relatively strong to attack from the outside, and it can cover everything inside so that outsiders can't see it. It shatters with a single blow. The next moment, Hina Sentao seemed to have no worries. Although her movements were shy and unfamiliar, she actually took off her Death Tyrant outfit, revealing a petite but not exquisite and sensual body, with bumps and bumps, where it should be convex. It already has a certain scale, and the concave place will never bulge out a little bit. The figure is still quite good, at least very well proportioned, and there is no asymmetry at all. After all, Hina Moritao is the deputy captain of the God of Death. She handles a lot of documents every day, plus she has seen so many different kinds of gods of death, and after experiencing Aizen, she also knows a little bit about how to deal with people. Of course, I also know that if a person asks for many times to ask the other party to refuse, then re-exit will make the other party impatient or even more disgusted. Now she is desperate. She hopes that after devoting herself, she will not ask this man to be so good to herself and his wives, but only that he can fulfill his requirements in the name of his devotion. Then she will wholeheartedly to serve this man. She didn't have any conditions and bargained, because she knew that she didn't have the qualifications or the bargaining chip to negotiate with Lu Chenghong. Hina Sentao used her trembling hands to undo Lu Chenghong's pants, as if she was afraid that Lu Chengkong would break away from her and leave. Although her hands were trembling, her movements were fast. Her appearance is very confident, very cute, well-behaved and moving, but she has seen many of Lu Chengkong's wives. Not to mention appearance, just the body of a random wife makes her a little inferior. Even Fei Jun is a little plumper than her, and she has nothing to be proud of, so she doesn't want to give Lu Chengkong a chance to slip away directly. Speed as fast as lightning, he directly held Lu Chengkong's giant dragon. The hot and fiery breath that rushed towards her face was completely different from what he had heard in the book and what he had heard, so she couldn't help but think, it's so big, no wonder he has so many wives, how can a woman so big be able to bear it? But she also knew that now was not the time to think wildly. She took a deep breath, forced herself to calm down, opened her small mouth as wide as possible, and swallowed the top of the giant dragon, but it was a pity that she opened it as wide as possible. However, the top end was forced into the race, but even so, her cheeks were completely bulged, it was very difficult to breathe, and the small mouth was completely filled. 609, 610 Young Mori Dao, Yi Yi pushes back one after another. I can do it. Hina Sentao kept cheering herself up. Her bulging pretty face didn't know whether she was being held back or it was too embarrassing to do such a thing. Her face was as pink, and her face became hot. However, she still resisted the uncomfortable feeling and continued to fuck up, trying to swallow the innermost every time. Although it was very hard and couldn't breathe at all, she still persevered. This kind of deep throat and the object she faced was still it is even more difficult for a dragon like Lu Chengkong, which has exceeded the limits of all human beings. Among Lu Chengkong's wives, there are not many wives who can maintain a deep throat for a long time. If you count them, there are only Yuichi, Ranju, Haribel, Kurosaki Masaki, Yahomaru Liza, and Uno Hanaritsu. All of these can be done for a long time, but the only ones who really make Lu Chengkong cool to the extreme and enhance the power of deep throat to the extreme are Lu Anju, Maoji Walai and Yi Yi San Nu. What surprised Lu Chengkong even more was that he spent a lot of effort to get Maojiwali to do this kind of thing. The first time Maojiwali made the first movement was a sparse and green direct deep throat. It seems like she was born with it, or it may be her secondary occupation as a doctor. She knows Lu Chengkong's body very well and knows what to do to make Lu Chengkong enjoy the greatest pleasure, and she also knows that Lu Chengkong intends to make her the manager of the harem. The peony flowers in the harem, Matsumoto Ranju, are getting closer and closer to her. The blonde cow, Yuji, is the assistant, and she is responsible for the top when Ujiwali is not available. Therefore, Maoji Huali leads by example in everything he does, and is better than all women in everything. With his countless years of experience, Maoji Walai can convince the arrogant warriors in Lu Chengkong's harem without much effort. Matsumoto Renku and other women's recognition and heart Lati take tea. Now Hina Sentao, a petite and slender little auntie, has acted like Maojiwali from the beginning, and she has really succeeded. It seems that her determination is really big, although she couldn't get along with Mao the first time. The first time Jiwali brought him that kind of extreme pleasure. Both technique and control are far behind. Ujiwali has practiced and learned skills on Lu Chengkong at an astonishing speed. With her understanding of the body, she has made rapid progress and knows which place is the best and when to touch that place. While Hinamori Dao is rampant, it is really the same as her current person. But that's exactly what happened. Her petite and exquisite body, her face as delicate and beautiful as a loli, and her pure, youthful and moving temperament made Lu Chengkong enjoy a different kind of excitement. However, sometimes manpower is really exhausted. Facing Lu Chengkong's giant dragon, Xiao Sentao's small mouth is completely numb and unconscious. Lu Chengkong's giant dragon has nothing to explode except for even more huge heat. In addition to making Hinamori Dao shy, this kind of situation is more admirable and amazed. Her hearsay in some books describe a powerful man as the limit for an hour, but she has been deep-throating for almost 40 minutes just now. This man is more enjoyable and signaled that he should continue to ignore him. There is a tendency to explode. It's no wonder that so many women of him live in peace and won't compete for favor. It's too perverted, but no matter what, he has to continue, his mouth can't work, don't he have no other place? Young Sendao is actually on the egg with Lu Chengkong. She doesn't believe that Lu Chengkong is really as powerful as his strength is so terrifying in this aspect. She doesn't believe that there is such a perfect man in the world. It has to be said that even if a woman is a female death god, it is indeed a very wonderful existence. The speed of thinking of any woman is definitely the top male genius in the world and can't keep up. Young Sendao's face was blushing, her eyes were already watery. She supported Lu Chengkong's giant dragon facing her delicate and narrow peach blossom garden without a trace of fear, and she looked completely different from her usual timid appearance, relaxed her body, sitting down suddenly. Hina Sentao only felt that her body seemed to be penetrated by herself, and a trace of delicate red dripped on the sheets. Well, it hurts. And while staying awake, she knew that she couldn't stop and couldn't make the man in front of her dissatisfied. The wounds and the pain were unlearned and twisted up and down his waist up and down. The scene of the picture of the phoenix falling again began to ignite in the enchantment. The two of them can turn the clouds over the rain, and the repeated battles are not enough for outsiders. At the same time, he didn't notice the passage of time at all, until Hina Mori Dao let out a high-pitched coquettish cry again, his eyes darkened, and he fell asleep. What is this? I said that nothing would happen and she didn't believe it. She just wanted to dedicate herself. Now I don't even know if I should make a move. Forget it, I'll make a move at that time. Lu Chengkong sighed, looking like he was getting a bargain and being a good boy, but when he saw this guy in his arms being hugged by him, he didn't let him take the initiative from the very beginning. He was also very surprised that Hinamori Momo, who couldn't bear it until he fell asleep, stopped. It seems that I have underestimated her before. Although it is not a good thing to be a bullseye, her spirit is really admirable. If her spirit is used to improve her strength, it will definitely be twice the result with half the effort. Helping her with the clothes on the bed, after calling Feijun, he motioned her to take care of the young Sentao. After Lu Chengkong's spiritual power, even Feijun, who needed the most to live for a few years, now has the power of the god of death. Without Shikai, but also awakening Zanpakuto, it would be trivial to hold Hygiena with her current strength. Hey, where did you get a beautiful girl? Isn't this Hina Mori Dao? I remember you didn't seem to like her very much before. Why is it again? Saifeng Yuan Yi suddenly appeared beside Lu Chengkong, and she said coquettishly in Lu Chengkong's arms with a look of incomparable laziness. Lu Chengkong smiled bitterly. Huang Tian definitely didn't take the initiative to provoke others this time. He never took the initiative from beginning to end, so Lu Chengkong could only explain it with a wry smile. Saifeng Yuan Yi listened with a very expressive expression. It's wonderful, especially when I heard Lu Chengkong's last sentence of devotion. An affair came, and after being unable to stop it, she immediately transformed into a wild little female cat that no one could tame except Lu Chengkong and rushed to Lu Chengkong. He actually entered the barrier left by Hina Sentao just now, with the sound of the clothes falling off, when Saifeng Yuan Yi's mellow and sweet moan sounded like a little female cat's. Time. The new battle on the bed actually started again. It seemed that Lu Chengkong could still be messing around without doing anything at night. It was very unpleasant, so she wanted to have a good time on her own first, and at the same time drained Lu Chengkong's energy. To see if he dares to be so arrogant, proud, pretending to be 13. 610-611 2 ice wheel pills appear. Boom. What's the matter? Kurosaki Ichigo after Bankai felt a reiatsu radiating from the soul realm, but it was purer than those of the usual captain, and he couldn't help it. Said. I don't know either. It should have been an accident at Sarote. Now Rukia has been accompanying her sister in Lu Mansion. Where will she come to life, and no one in the Soul Society dares to order Rukia. So many times the scene where Rukia should have appeared did not appear. For example, it is not Rukia who is beside Kurosaki Ichigo, but Chato Taihu and Ishida Yulong. You are right, the action of Lord Grasscrown and Hitsugaya Dongshilang has already begun, and the king's seal is about to be cut open. You are absolutely not allowed to influence Lord Grasscrown's plan, Shu Kyun. They are all broken faces bathed by the power of the king's seal, and their ability to summon a large group of low-level virtual circles in the virtual circle is simply effortless. Although these low-level virtual powers are weak, they are better than a steady stream of numbers. To make up for it, it is the best choice to consume the great void of the god of death and Achukas below the captain level. On the other side, Sojiro Kusanagi has already joined forces with Hitsugaya Toshiro to use the power of Wang Yin to come to the mountain behind the first team office. For the first time, Hitsugaya Toshiro, who saw only Wang Yin's power to transform this space, was shocked. Obviously, with his current strength, he is not enough to use the ghostly forbidden techniques of space and time, otherwise he would not feel that there is anything great. This is the power of the King's Seal. The power of the King's Seal is an object that can transform time and space and even make good use of it to give the enemy a fatal blow and restore things. The Grass Crown took out the King's Seal and explained to Hitsugaya Toshiro. At least this moment he did not hate Hitsugaya Toshiro, and even signaled that Benkai's Toshiro could get the power of the King's Seal. It can be said that he really will. Hitsugaya Toshiro regarded him as his best friend with confidence, knowing that everything he is now depends on Wang Yin. Giving the power of Wang Yin to Toshiro is no less than giving his life to him. Unfortunately, Toshiro has already decided the path he wants to take from the very beginning, and this path is equal to himself for Kaoguan. The betrayal of the most cherished friendship, the only people he believed in betrayed him, so his original book was so angry. But this time is obviously not the time when Hitsugaya Toshilang is surprised, and there is no time to surprise him, because Madaramu, Ayasagawa Yukin, and some vice captains have already rushed over and surrounded the two, and even Madaramu is already in the corner. Immediately shot, but was blocked by Hitsugaya Toshiro. Soon, a large number of death gods and the army had arrived, and of course the broken bees who ruled the army also arrived, but they were blocked by Kurosaki Ichigo, Chadu Taihu and others who brought Renji Asanjing to the world. Now, Broby, who doesn't want to waste time in pursuit of one-hit kill, doesn't want to say anything, and even plans to use Shikai to deal with those who block him. Wait a minute, an old but full of air and majestic voice sounded from the back, and the large number of death gods and the army who appeared in the word length basically knelt down. Obviously, this old man's prestige is very high. Of course, the captain is not needed. It's just that the captain, including the deputy captain, basically knelt down. Sojiro Erika Guan, you are not dead. It seems that Wang Yin gave you a second life and transferred you to the virtual circle. The person who came was the old man Yamamoto. This time he had to come out. Although he didn't take Wang Yin seriously, it was something of the royal family after all. It is simply an offense to His Majesty, and more importantly, Wang Yin's ability to transfer space is tricky. Shot. If the person with the King's Seal wants to escape, it will be difficult to kill him, so the old man Yamamoto came here to be prepared. Chie, otherwise he will leave Sojiro Kusanagi to the other captains, Death, to solve it. Drink. Suddenly, Hitsugaya Toshiro pulled out his Zanpakuto and slashed at Sojiro, but the Sojiro who was bathed by Wang Yin at this time was only stronger or weaker than Hitsugaya Toshiro without Bankai. After being attacked, he easily blocked Hitsugaya Toshiro's Zanpakuto, and even had a backhand strike that pushed Hitsugaya Toshiro several steps away. It's strange, didn't Hitsugaya Toshiro betray Gotei's 13th division? How could he attack the Grass Crown? Kasuamura Zojin said suspiciously, but Jing, who quickly came over with the help of Yukitaki Shiruro, came over. Le Chunshui has already told the truth of the matter. In addition, Hitsugaya Toshiro's words that Grass Crown was an idiot made countless death gods understand what was going on. In fact, the most tragic thing from the beginning to the end was the Grass Crown, and the tragedy of this incident was the 46 who had already died. A stupid so-called nobleman who can't do civil or military affairs like she, with such a short-sightedness, he would kill one because there can't be two identical ice wheel pills, and kill the owner of the strongest Zanpakuto in the ice and snow type. Lose. You're going to kill me, are you really going to kill me again? Sojiro Kusaka looked at Hitsugaya Toshiro in disbelief. He trusted him so much that he didn't hesitate to hand over the power of Wang Yin to him. Open the King's Seal, then whose power belongs to the King's Seal? However, Hitsugaya Toshiro still had to treat himself like this, which made his already full of hatred Name almost lost his mind because of the stimulation of anger. Directly use the ice ball that he didn't have Bankai to cut open the king's seal. Since it wasn't Bankai's power, the power of the king's seal was only 80%. But even so, his strength soared to the peak of the late captain in an instant, and he was only half a step away from reaching the peak before breaking the limit of Shuin death, that is, the strength of Aizen when he left the Soul Realm. But it is precisely because of the use of Wang Yin that even if he does not die this time, he has no chance in this life. I'm sorry Kusanagi, Hitsugaya Toshiro shouted in his heart, but he had no choice. He already knew that Sojiro Kusanagi was not simply seeking revenge for the Soul Society, but also to rule the Soul Society. Such an ambition without enough strength to support it will definitely fail or even die miserably. It is better to die happily in your own hands than in the hands of others, even if Sojiro Kusanagi hates himself. Please. After cutting the king's seal, a yellow spiritual pressure burst out from the grass crown, and circles of yellow light with characters spread out, slowly forming a spherical space that looked like an asteroid, killing all the people nearby. They were all wrapped in, and at the same time Sojiro Kusaka turned into a huge humanoid ice dragon with a pair of wings covered in ice block. 611-612 candidate for captain. What is this? Tiger Toruyuyan exclaimed as he looked at the expanding hemisphere, and the nearby buildings were constantly being swallowed up. Mao Xiaowali was too lazy to explain, she was too lazy to take a look at such a thing. After she and Lu Chengkong combined, she didn't want to be the captain of the 4th Division to pass the day like before, so that she would not be so bored and free. Look for it. There are some things to do, but there is no need for it now, so she doesn't want to come here. She has long planned to resign, and today she planned to leave the 4th team and not come here. However, after thinking about what Lu Chengkong asked about Wang Yin before, and she knew very well that after cutting the Wang Yin, she would definitely continue to devour the outside world, although it was not Benkai who cut the Wang Yin, and the grass crown could not control the Wang Yin power, but it is precisely because of this that the space formed by the king's seal after the grass crown cuts open the king's seal continues to devour the outside world, and will soon approach Lu Chengkong's Lu residence, when Lu Chengkong will definitely take action. That said, Lu Chengkong will also come here. Now she is too lazy to take care of things that have nothing to do with Lu Chengkong, but since Lu Chengkong will come, of course she will not be here, so now her resignation letter has been handed in. I gave it to old man Yamamoto, but he still came. However, after this time, it was also the last time she came as the captain of the 4th Division. Although old man Yamamoto did not know the identity of Uzumaki, he still retained Uzuru to continue to be the captain of the 4th Division many times. Knowing that it is really difficult to find a person with such a high prestige to be the captain of the 4th Division of medical treatment in the Soul World, but Hanalei Uno was resolutely refused. And let the old man Yamamoto surprised. What is unbelievable is that when Unahakali refused to be the captain of the 4th Division, there was a majesty in his gentle and calm tone that made him unable to have any idea of resistance, which made him have a kind of majesty a long time ago. The old man Yamamoto, who is not as simple as the captain of the ordinary death god, is sure that Uno Hanariot is absolutely extraordinary. At the same time, I also understand that the strength of the 4th Division captain, who I couldn't see through before, is definitely far beyond my imagination, and it can make me not have any idea of resistance. It was that time when the old man Yamamoto really confirmed that the strength of Ujiwali is absolutely terrible, but more is fortunate. Fortunately, the idiots in the 46th room did not provoke Ujiwali, otherwise the whole corpse soul the world is also destroyed. He knew very well that Ujiwali complied with all the rules of the Soul Society on the surface. From his behavior to his usual actions, he could not pick out a single mistake, but it was precisely because of this that old man Yamamoto felt terrible. There is one person who can perfect to this point. Not the slightest negligence. If you annoy her, offend her bottom line, and let her show her edge, then the fate of the Soul Society can be imagined. It's a pity, how can such a strong person be used by the Soul world? It seems that the old man is really old, and the soul world hides the existence of many killings, crouching tigers, hidden dragons, but Captain Mao Zihua has always been in peace with each other. How could the captain of the 4th Division suddenly resign? By the way, that should be the case. Quote. The old man Yamamoto was puzzled for a moment, and when he glanced at Lu Chengkong's Lu residence, he suddenly realized that the family lived together, of course, but the old man Yamamoto was only half right at this time. There are only 3 such existences in the entire death god world. Lu Chengkong does not count, that is, King Ling and Wang Shu plus Mao Zhawali. Where can there be more? Moreover, Wu Zhawali and Lu Chengkong are not simply relatives, but have an additional relationship, that is, husband and wife, but if old man Yamamoto finds out, he may be even more surprised. There are people who can match a woman like Wu Zhawali. Affordable. The power of Wang Yin is constantly expanding, and the space grass crown inside has the power of a god, but because he was not cut by Bankai, this energy is unconscious and cannot be controlled at all. Otherwise, it will be even more powerful. Difficult to deal with. Quote. Ni Yuli died. After becoming a woman, Ni Yinmeng used the spirit control gloves to become a real god of death, and she stayed in Lu Mansion as Lu Chengkong's obedient wife. In her spare time, she also stayed in Lu Mansion with Lan. Of course, it is impossible for the island to do what he is interested in and do research, so of course the commentator becomes Shuru, who is suffering. Wait, it's a good show now. Jingle Chunchui said suddenly, and because Yi didn't come, he was still coquettish in Lu Chengkong's arms, so he didn't rush into the Wangyan space like the original book. B and other gods of death also looked over. What's wrong with Jingle? Shuru Yukitaki looked strangely at Jingle Chunchui, who was being supported by him, and didn't understand why he suddenly reacted so strongly. Look over there. Jingle Chunchui jokingly patted a building not far in front of the expanding Wangyan space. Shiruro Yukitaki, Old Man Yamamoto, Broken Bee, and the others suddenly turned pale when they saw it. Change. It's Lord Yi's home. It was clearly Lu Chengkong's home, but Lu Mansion turned into Yi's home in the mouth of Broken Bee. She really regarded Saifeng Yuan Yi as a goddess. Sure enough, there was a play. Hirako Meiko and Kuchiki Shanghai and others came to the old man Yamamoto's side at some point, and the most powerful old man Yamamoto couldn't even notice how Hirako Meiko and Kuchiki Shanghai came. They could only barely feel a slight fluctuation, and they appeared before they could react. Obviously, the strength of Kuchiki Shanghai and Hepping Meiko had surpassed old man Yamamoto by a lot. Have you surpassed this old man? Ha ha. Not only did the old man Yamamoto not feel lost, but he was more happy. Compared to Lu Chengkong, who was also righteous and unscrupulous, the two were obviously more concerned about the corpse. Soul World has a lot of feelings, of course, only for the entire Soul World and those civilians in the Soul World, not Sarote, but that's enough. The old man Yamamoto had already secretly regarded Hirako Meiko and Kuchiki Shanghai as candidates for the captaincy, and planned to choose one of them to take his place. Originally, the captain was decided by the Spirit King. But the Spirit King hasn't appeared for so long, and now more than 99% of the gods of death in the Soul Realm doubt whether the Spirit King is dead or does not exist. The old man Yamamoto also felt that he was getting old and his energy was getting less and less, and who knew when he would die in battle, or die accidentally. Then the corpse Soul World is not a group of dragons without a leader, but it is very dangerous to face the virtual circle. Even the world will be in chaos. Although he was selected by the Spirit King to be the captain, the Spirit King has not appeared for a long time. Who knows if the Spirit King will appear in time when something happens to him or if the Spirit King is dead. If there is no corpse in Soul World, it is not very dangerous. It is too insecure to leave such a big thing and such a risky thing to the ethereal Spirit King. Old man Yamamoto's affection for the Soul World is not comparable to that of the Spirit King, so he wants to choose one of the two before his life ends for hundreds of years, just in case of emergency, and now he is secretly observing which one is more suitable. After all, this is not a simple matter, but a major event related to the future of the Soul Society must not be sloppy. 612-613 The water is out. If the lazy Hirako Meiko knew that he had become one of the busiest candidates for the captaincy, I wonder if he would immediately defect to the Soul Society to enjoy the world, knowing that after he took over as captain, he had no idea how many words he secretly said, fallen, tears, regretted that he, impulsively, became the captain back. He is still at ease in this world, enjoying a comfortable life of living in a palace like an emperor and eating all kinds of delicious food. Now he regrets being the captain of the 5th Division, let alone being a busier captain. Now he can't even think of a shot. I don't believe he will sit and watch his home be affected. Jingle Chunchui, who was seriously injured, suddenly laughed like a lively smug girl. Lu Mansion seemed to be responding to the words of Pingzi Junzi, Jingle Chunchui and others. A terrifying spiritual pressure surged into the sky. This is not a simple one. Count even the weakest one. The strength of Reiatsu is better than that of Old Man Yamamoto and even Kuchiki Kyukawa and Heiko Meiko. Any spiritual pressure here can be an existence that can sweep across the soul world, and suddenly there are so many powerful spirits that can change the color of the sky, change the color of the wind and clouds, and even block the light of the sky and make the sun and moon dull. Even the Old Man Yamamoto, who had been prepared for a long time, was frightened by his thighs, and his cross-eyed eyes glared to the maximum. There are so many strong people gathered around him, and the spiritual pressure of each strand is extremely pure. Even if all the members of the Zero team come in person, they can't compare to the Death God and the virtual around him. They are too powerful, especially some of them are so powerful that Old Man Yamamoto feels like a drop in the ocean, insignificant and pitiful. Strange, why don't you see that guy from Chengkong? Isn't he lazy? Ping Zishenzi was also shocked. He was one of the few male gods of death who knew Lu Chengkong the most in the Soul Society. Especially when he often stayed with Lu Chengkong, and lived together for so long in this world, he thought he knew how powerful the power gathered around him, but now the power displayed by these gods of death and Shu was obviously scaring him. Big jump. Of course, Lu Chengkong deliberately let his wife, who is at least as strong as Skrito, release his spiritual pressure, and all those who were lower than Skrito were put away, so he has such a shocking side. But it was really guessed by Hirako Meiko, Lu Chengkong was really being lazy, and if he said that he was lazy, it would be better to say that he was appreciating the real-life version of Reaper. When the scene changed, Lu Chengkong was lying on Yi Yi's hot and elastic thighs in Saifengyuan at this time, holding Nellie Lu, who had a calm face and a sweet smile without a trace of shyness, in his arms. In the face of feelings, Nellie Elu is still just like her ability characteristics. She is brave, bold, direct, and she will not be shy. The shoulder is still a little lowly of Bachenliu. In her words, this position belongs to her, and no one is allowed to grab it. Lu Chengkong's wives are very fond of Bachenliu, a little lowly, and that position it seems that no one can do it except her, so no one will argue with her for whatever reason. At this time, Lu Chengkong and his wives gathered around and looked at the huge rectangular screen in front of them, which actually showed that they were preparing to rush to the top to fight Kurosaki Ichigo and others in the Wangyan space. Sister-in-law Landau, your stuff is very interesting, it's like watching a movie, and it's very realistic. Bachenliu looked at the screen who was already fighting Bankai, S. Madaramu and others, without the original Yaiki and Broken Bee. Joining in, there are Kuchiki Byakuya and others who have already died. In the corner of Madara eyes, Asanjing Renji and his party have worked very hard, and many of them have been injured. Everyone understands that Bachenliu said this. Of course, this is the masterpiece of Landau. Long ago, Landau was already in the Seraiti. Apart from the buildings inside, the entire Seraiti has monitors that can be viewed at any time. The Wangyan space is covered with the buildings in the Seranje. Of course, you can see the battle situation inside through the screen. Which one of you wants to play? Lu Chengkong glanced at young Sendao, who was sitting pretty and the newest member, and the two parties were also united without emotion and preparation. It happened that she lowered her head and dared not speak. In fact, I am very worried about the situation inside. Chengkong didn't hate Hina Sentao for a long time, and it was useless to hate it, but no matter what, her body was obviously given to him, and it was the first time that she completely disregarded her tender body in order to please herself. Not only Deep Throat, but also twisted wildly as soon as he broke, and finally even the little chrysanthemum dedicated himself. Therefore, she will only belong to her forever, and she is also a member of her own wife. No matter whether she has feelings or not, it cannot be changed. In this case, she will get a long day and night in the future. That's right, of course Lu Chengkong wants this young Sendao to completely return to his heart and give him a heart. Seeing the two Bing Loon pills in the sky constantly clashing and biting at the moment, Lu Chengkong has already thought of letting the young Sendao completely return to his heart. He will not think about anything from now on, and completely regard himself as Lu Chengkong's woman, no matter what. Is it the body or the mind? Che, you want your wife to solve the romantic account that you made. You are really amazing. Zibo Kong was the only one who dared to speak to Lu Chengkong in this way, and in such a bold way. The little girls are bullying. Obviously, Zibo Kong saw through Lu Chengkong's thoughts. Although she didn't know what Lu Chengkong planned to do, she also knew that Lu Chengkong planned to completely reconcile Hina Sendao through this incident. It's just the pure affection that the elder sister treats the younger brother. However, this matter should be prevented before it happens. It is best to solve the problem as soon as possible to capture the heart of the young Sendao, so that in the future, even if the young Sendao is hypnotized and fooled by Kyoka Shuiyu, there will be no situation where he will wave his sword towards Tushiro. So this tyrant sister was very unhappy that Lu Chengkong enjoyed herself but did not do anything to even ask her own wives to help when picking up girls. Haha, I also saw that my sister Ba hasn't been active for so long and intends to let you have some fun. How can you look at me like this? Lu Chengkong pulled Zibo Kong, who dared to dismantle his own stage, over, and rub the fleshy, elastic and wonderfully tactile with his upper and lower hands. Shiba Sora snorted in delight. The lower body was pulled out of the water by Lu Chengkong at an astonishing speed. Obviously, her body would not have any resistance when facing Lu Chengkong. Soon she forgot everything and enjoyed the pleasure that Lu Chengkong brought to her. Looking at her sly and full of spring eyes, even Nelly Elu, who is not a human being or an adulterer, understands that Kong He definitely came to demolish Lu Chengkong's stage on purpose, and then he calculated that Lu Chengkong would treat him like this, and he was not happy. It was fate that Lu Chengkong asked himself to wait for the girl to solve the problem, and the real reason was for this. I want to enjoy myself in front of so many wives, so I can show it off. Apart from her Kong, there are only Yaiki and Ranju, and of course, Maojawali, who is extremely strict with herself. 613-614 The Temptation of Two Little Female Cats. This empty crane is real. Saifeng Yuan Yei's slender, round and elastic thighs were used as pillows by Lu Chengkong, but her whole body's flexibility and coordination were just too perfect. With the thighs moving, her pair of calves could actually twist over without affecting the beauty and without touching the thighs, and kick the empty crane out at once. Yi, I know you envy me, but you can't do that. Zibo Kong used his pretty face to directly block Saifeng Yuan Yi's perfect jade feet at the critical moment. However, a soft force still sent her out. Of course, she landed safely in midair with her skill, and walked over to Yi again and said angrily. I know you have a good figure, your legs are slender and round, and beautiful, but you can't show it off. Zibo Kong looked at Saifeng Yuan Yi's slender, wheat-colored skin that was different from himself and others with envy. Perfect slender and sexy legs, shining with a healthy luster. At the same time, her bottom pair of jade feet is flawless. The 10 jade fingers seem to be carved by the top sculptor with the most perfect and special gemstone. Together, they look very natural, beautiful and lovely. The moderate length can be called a 3-inch golden lotus. All combined, even if Zibo Kong looks at it as a woman, he will feel very attractive and sexy. If the beautiful legs of Saifeng Yuan Yaiki are healthy and natural, full of amazing elasticity and activity, giving people a wild and hot feeling, then Matsumoto Ranju is round and sexy, as slender as the best jade but plump, crystal clear. Anyone who sees these two pairs of jade legs that give people different feelings but are equally beautiful to the extreme, exudes two different charms from the bones, even those who do not have foot fetishes, can't help but hold them in their arms and take good care of them, even if they are body parts. The same is true for women who are also women. Che, if you're jealous, just say it. Siphon Yuan Yi proudly lifted his jade feet and placed them in Lu Chengkong's arms, letting Lu Chengkong play with them. In the end, Lu Chengkong had to do it himself. Who knows if he will not be able to resist the temptation to push the group of wives in front of him, and the battle may be over by then. You must know that his left hand is playing with Yaiki's wheat-colored jade feet, and his right hand is also playing with Matsumoto Ranju's snow-skin jade-like jade feet. Matsumoto Ranju and Sifenjin Yaiki may really be born enemy. On their beautiful legs, they are all on the same level. They also make countless women jealous, and Lu Chengkong loves them extremely. There is no way. Both women are full of wild little female cats that no one can tame except themselves. Sifenjin Yaiki is a very wild little she-cat in wheat color, while Matsumoto Ranju is a snow-white, noble, plump and sexy little she-cat. It's just that one tends to be sexy and plump without losing the perfect coordination, and the other is leaning towards plumpness. You can see it when you look at Lu Anju's, but it is sexy and tall, although the coordination may not be as good as Yi Yi's. But the flexibility of the two women is absolutely comparable. After all, Ranju majored in Zanpakudo, Shunpo and Kendo, and minored in White Fight and Ghost Dao. There is no way to be the master of the strongest Zanpakudo in the Qingfeng department. Of course, what Ranju is good at is the elegant and untraceable speed. Of course, there is a lot more to the speed. If you don't major in Shunpo, it's a waste. And Siphon Yuan Yaiki is Zanpakudo, Shunbu, and Baida as the majors. Her devil figure is too wasteful to not train Shunpo and Shida. Ghost and Kendo as minors. In terms of flexibility it's almost the same, but in terms of coordination, Yi Yi is superior. After all, they all have their own advantages and cannot compare their weaknesses with others' strengths. Ranju is still good. Matsumoto Ranju, who is more noble and more inclusive, was in charge of the management of his harem at the same time as Ujawali after becoming his wife. After the first pair, I got along with Maozihua fiercely day and night. Under the influence, it became more and more obvious, and the change of temperament became more and more perfect. Hee, of course I'm good, so you know what to do tonight. Matsumoto Ranju smiled coquettishly, and stretched out his attractive little tongue to lick the corner of his mouth, matching the tiny beauty mole on the corner of his mouth. He was a pure, passionate and stunning stunner. Lu Chengkong almost couldn't help but do it again. Obviously, Matsumoto Ranju has started to be naughty again with occasional small temptations. Obviously, the successive temptations of Sora Crane and Yaiki have led to Matsumoto Ranju's playfulness and mischief. Let's go, Nilu. This time, Lu Chengkong brought Nilia with him. I don't know when Lu Chengkong has developed a very advanced little problem, that is, he will be very uncomfortable without a beautiful wife around him. It's uncomfortable, especially at night when he can't sleep without a wife holding him or being held. Not only were the girls not angry, but instead they were very happy and satisfied. Doesn't this mean that Lu Chengkong is very dependent on them and likes them very much? I'll go too. Bachan Liu took out 2 lollipops from her pocket, and she was very obedient and gave one to Nellie L. Her cute and well-behaved appearance made Nellie L still behind her. Ranju Matsumoto and the others covered their mouths and laughed lightly. Obviously, the little happy boy Yachinliu usually made them very happy. As long as it's not related to Lu Chengkong and serious things, Bachanliu is a very cute and well-behaved little lowly angel, but if he encounters serious things that are mainly related to Lu Chengkong's safety, Bachanliu will turn from a little angel into a cold little witch. Yes, this point, Lu Anju and other women have experienced this many times. Look, as I said, he will come out. Ping Zishenzi grew up and didn't notice that the people around him were looking at him with contempt. When others came out, they immediately re-exported. Haha, this thing seems to be quite good. Zanaki Kenpachi's wild laughter suddenly came from the king's seal space. Obviously, this battle madman didn't know when he entered, but at this time he broke the void and death a long time ago. After reaching the limit, I am no longer wearing that blindfold. Apart from the fact that his huge spiritual pressure, which was far beyond the powerhouses of the same level, could no longer be absorbed by the blindfold. It was after breaking the limit that he realized an ability to perfectly control his own spiritual pressure, and even close it up completely, as long as he broke the limit. He thought that even people who were stronger than him could only see the strength he showed. It can be said that as long as Kenpachi showed how much strength, others could only see the strength he showed, and they would think it was him. Of all. Therefore, the current Zengi Kenpachi can release as much spiritual pressure as he can to fight the enemy against any level of opponent, and he will not accidentally kill his opponent by accidentally releasing more than he did before. Try to control the pressure as much as possible. This is an ability he has realized. Basically, both Shu and Shinigami who break the limit will understand some peculiar abilities. Although Kenpachi's ability does not particularly increase his strength, he is very satisfied, because this ability of his is called controlling Reiatsu. What he wants and needs most is this ability to make it easier for him to enjoy the battle, rather than a special ability that adds to his combat power. 614-615 Kenpachi Zakagi who shoots first. Shanghai, it seems that it is not only Lu Chengkong but also his wives. It turns out that there are still people walking in front of us. When did the strength of that guy from Kenpachi surpass us? Mako's expression was very exciting, as if she had discovered a new continent. In fact, the strength of the two of them is basically the same as that of Kenpachi. Of course, Shanghai, who is similar, will only show them a strength similar to theirs. However, recently Zaraki Kenpachi seems to have realized something, and he actually made a breakthrough. Originally, he was similar to Kuchiki Shanghai and Hirako Mako, but now he is one step ahead, and Kenpachi, who dominates the spiritual pressure, is stronger than Shanghai and Shanghai. Mako is one step ahead, and if he doesn't show it, of course the two of them won't feel the strength hidden after the breakthrough of Kenpachi Zaraki. But now Zakagi Kenpachi has made a breakthrough. For a while, I was a little itchy and wanted to find someone to test how far I have reached. As a result, I saw that Wangyan space would expand to my 11th team, and I felt that this thing should be able to make I was a year or two old, and I didn't need to pay for it, as if he had broken so many things and never paid. Of course, he tried it immediately, so he grabbed the shot before Lu Chengkong. God knows if Lu Chengkong still has the opportunity to try it after he shot. Open it to my uncle. Zaraki Kenpachi's body was covered with a spiritual pressure that looked like a burning flame, and it was like a flame to the spirits that were originally released by Lu Chengkong's wife Yi Yi and other women. Suppressing the Wangyan space, which could not spread to Lu Mansion, galloped away and directly covered the body of Wangyan space. This guy's Reiatsu is really good. Kuchiki Shanghai looked at the Reiatsu that Zanaki Kenpachi had that could be squandered at will, and couldn't help but said, Kenpachi is a Reiatsu-type god of death. After breaking the limit, the strength of the spirit is basically inclined to the development of spiritual pressure, and the spiritual pressure is of course more terrifying, and it is getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, when he was still at the peak of Captain Death, he used his spiritual pressure far beyond ordinary people and the Deadwood Golden Bell that broke the limit for many years. Now his whole strength is mainly based on spiritual pressure. He majored in it's actually different from other death gods, and it's actually a major in spiritual pressure and kendo. What a freak. Hirako Mako nodded with a sympathetic expression. Just as the two of them were talking, the countless Reaper team members, Xingjun, and many Reaper captains, such as Tianbei Yusuke who had never seen the world, Komamura Zojun and others were amazed. Surprisingly, under his unbelievable gaze, Kenpachi Zengmu pressed his hand on the Wangyan space with one hand. The Wangyan space, which could not be expanded to Lufu and could only be expanded in the direction of the 11th division and the other two directions, suddenly stagnated, and the big hand of Zengmu Kenpachi was like the Tathagata's palm of the Buddha, while the king's seal the space is like a bouncing monkey. No matter how much you move, it can't escape the big hands of Zaragi Kenpachi. Hey, this thing should let me chop a few times. Don't let this uncle be disappointed. Zaragi Kenpachi laughed happily. The spiritual pressure on his body was continuously released, and the sky-high yellow pressure seemed to destroy the entire CO. As if surrounded by the spiritual courtyard, such a huge and terrifying spiritual pressure even radiated directly into the Wangyan space. Feeling that Zengeki Kenpachi was no less than Tianwei for them, they were all surprised, especially some people who knew about Zengeki Kenpachi's strength did not expect the original Zengi Kenpachi to show it. Strength is just a drop in the bucket. If it gets bigger, I won't have a room to sleep tonight, let me open it. Zanpakutaka's unruly voice suddenly entered the ears of the gods of death, and the Zanpakuto was in the air. A cold light flashed. The yellow spiritual pressure above the sky suddenly turned into a huge arc-shaped slash with a yellow appearance similar to the Zanpakuto blade in the hands of Zanpaku Kenpachi, and slashed directly on the Black King seal space flashing with mysterious runes. Click. A thick and long crack extends from one end of the semicircular King's seal to the other. With a cracking sound echoing in the midair of the Sarange, the King's seal is broken into two halves, and Kurosaki Ichigo wrapped in it. Madarame and others, as well as everything in the Wangyan space, were displayed in the eyes of all the gods of death nearby, of course, including Sojiro Kusaka who stood on the top of the icicle and had turned into a human-shaped ice and snow dragon. How is that possible? The space of Wang Yin was actually cut open. It is impossible. The power of Wang Yin is the supreme power in the Soul realm. Even if it is broken, it can control the time and space and completely restore it to the way it was before it was not destroyed. How could it not be possible? Fix. After turning into a humanoid ice and snow dragon, Kusama Sojiro's voice also became much thicker, but his eyes shrank rapidly, and his eyes were full of surprise, disbelief and panic. It's him, Kenpachi Zakagi. As long as the Shinigami who has been admitted to the Central Spiritual Arts Academy has studied in it, they will know that the Shinto Spiritual Arts Academy stood out among the countless geniuses of death during its peak period. 3 Shinigami. Innocent and cute, it looks harmless to humans and animals, and it is a collection of 8,000 streams of little witches and little angels. Fighting is like fighting with blood, from the hell-blooded devil Zaraki Kenpachi, who will never stop once the blood on his body is not drained. And the last one is the leader and the strongest among the 3 who were regarded by countless people as the leader of the 3. Every shot is earth-shattering, creating countless legendary death gods with miraculous and legendary records to create legends and the famous Liu Chengkong. And now, what Sojiro Kusanagi is looking at is Kenpachi Zakagi. Originally, he thought that the 3 of them were so famous, but it was just a blowout. Why didn't Lang think the same as Sojiro Kusanagi? That's why he foolishly challenged Liu Chengkong. He also thinks so. After he got the King Seal, he didn't put the 3 gods of death in his heart. Maybe it was because he subconsciously didn't want to fight against the 3 of Liu Chengkong, or he was worried that these legends were true, not fake. Subconsciously forgot to ignore these 3 people, and now I finally see one of them. Under the bloodthirsty and furious gaze of Zaraki Kenpachi and the yellow Reiatsu that burns like flames in the sky, he has a feeling that he is a frog who does not know how high the sky is. At the same time, he also completely believes now, these 3 people are absolutely terrifying, even more terrifying and powerful than the rumored. Not to mention Liu Chengkong, who is the strongest in rumors. Just looking at Zengmu Kenpachi in front of him, he has a feeling that he is just a stupid and arrogant ant that can't be defeated. 615-616 The Kenpachi who curses without swear words. You are Sojiro Kusanagi. It's really boring, and your strength is too poor. Is this level after you get the Great Seal you said? I've already tried my current strength, so. Captain Zaraki, please hand Sojiro Kusanagi to me, this is a battle between me and him. Everyone thought that Kenpachi Zaraki would kill Sojiro Kusaka in seconds, and Toshiro Hitsugaya even immediately confronted Kenpachi. Said that the corpse soul world is always respected by the strong. It's just that there are some so-called laws and regulations to cover it up. It's not as naked as the virtual circle, but it's not clear which of the captains can be the leader. It's all about power. Look at Aizen who killed the most powerful 4. In the 16th room, Liu Chengkong swept the entire soul realm, saving some prisoners who had to die many times, and even brought so many emptiness to live in Jingling Court without incident, no one even dared to say anything, so many examples it can be seen. So of course Hitsugaya Toshiro, who knows that Zaraki Kenpachi is powerful, is not as arrogant as when he spoke to Kurosaki Ichigo in this world, and even used honorifics, whether in the virtual circle or the soul world. The strong, no matter what kind of powerhouse he is, as long as he is strong enough, even a monstrous villain is worthy of respect. This is respect for a strong man. Even Aizen, who has the greatest hatred with Hitsugaya Toshiro, in Hitsugaya Toshiro's heart, in addition to hatred for him, there is also respect and admiration for him with such strength and power. This kind of respect is purely for the strong, and it does not have the slightest conflict with other emotions such as hatred, liking, etc., and of course it will not appear contradictory. Did I say I wanted to kill him? Zaragi Kenpachi said angrily, looking at Hitsugaya Toshiro's anxious look, and after speaking, he carried the beheading without the slightest nostalgia under the eyes of countless death gods and Shinjun's collapse. Pakudo dissipated and left, not knowing how speechless it would be if he did so. He even left a sentence that was even more speechless, causing Ichigo Kurosaki to have countless tic-tac-toe words. If it wasn't for Chadu Haohu and Ishida Yulong to hold him down while covering his mouth, he couldn't make him speak, otherwise he would have been too early. He broke down and cursed, and at the same time let all the gods of death realize the other side of Zakagi Kenpachi, and learned what it means to swear at the highest level, stimulating people without swear words. I just wanted to say, I've already tried my current strength, so I should go too. Such a weak strength will be gone in one slash. It's not fun at all, it's a disappointment. Yes, that black sake Ichigo, right? In the first place, I kept you alive because of your good potential, and I plan to gain weight and then kill it. It would not be so boring, but if you are still so weak when we meet next time, and I am not interested in it, you can, well, I don't mind if it ends up with you directly, it's still not fat if you keep it up. Damn, am I as weak as you said? Ishida Yulong and Chadu Haohu only let go after Zaraki Kenpachi's figure completely disappeared, and Kurosaki Ichigo immediately shouted in disgust, and even wanted to rush over find the theory of Zaragi Kenpachi. In fact, he has basically absorbed Kurosaki Masaki's spiritual pressure. At least until he reached the peak of death, his progress was very fast, but after reaching the peak of death, because he had improved in the past and cultivated a lot of the power that did not belong to him, yes, the foundation of the realm is unstable, let alone cultivate so fast in the future, it will even get twice the result with half the effort, and it will be difficult to make progress. Therefore, in the original work, he fought with Aizen and used the last crescent moon and Tianchong to lose his strength to rebuild, which is a good thing for him. At least the foundation will not be solid, and those powers that do not belong to him will be removed. After recultivating, although the progress will be far from being comparable to before, at least it will not be as hard as before after reaching the peak of death, and the foundation will be much solid. Let's solve the grass crown first. Chadu Haohu said seriously, as Ichigo Kurosaki's brother, he really didn't want to say something that hit Ichigo Kurosaki too much. Isn't the difference in strength obvious? Need to say I'm as weak as he says. Is that the case? In fact, what Zaragi Kenpachi said is already very good, and even praised Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki Ichigo seems to Zakagi Kenpachi to be as weak as Kurosaki Ichigo said. It's actually very, very weak. If Zaraki Kenpachi is going to kill Kurosaki Ichigo with all his strength, one move is enough to kill the current Kurosaki Ichigo, and even using Reiatsu may crush him to the point where his soul collapses. He majored in spiritual pressure, and he was born to belong to the god of death with a huge spiritual pressure. Although Kurosaki Ichigo's Reiki is not bad, it is even bigger after absorbing Kurosaki Masaki's Reiki, but even at the same level, Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiki is compared to Kurosaki Ichigo, at least 3 times to 5 times, this is still at the same level and without Bankai, returning to the edge. If the two Bankai, the gap will be even bigger, because Zanaki Kenpachi majors in Reiatsu, and his Zanpakudo ability and strength are mainly Reiatsu. After Bankai, Reiatsu improved. Of course, the multiple is not comparable to Kurosaki Ichigo. Wait for my Toshiro. Kurosaki Ichigo also calmed down. Just now, He was so out of control because he was stimulated by Kenpachi Zengeki, especially the words of Kenpachi Zakagi, that he fattened up and killed it. He treated him like an animal, so many tic-tac-toe appeared on his forehead. Now that he was called by Chadu Haohu, he calmed down, and turned his head to find that Toshiro had ignored him and rushed towards Sojiro Kusanagi, so he hurriedly shouted and followed. Ichigo Kurosaki, Captain Hitsugaya, step on it, Benkai. Baboon King Shiwaimaru. Now Byakuya Kuchiki is dead, and there is no Senbon Sakura who has Byakuya Kuchiki as a protection like the original, even overnight, Broken Bee, Rukia, etc. The characters that appeared in the original book did not come, and the pressure was concentrated on Madarame, Ishida Yulong, Asanjing Renji, Chadu Haohu, Ace Chuan Yujin and others entered. On the vice captain here. Asanjing Renji saw that Kurosaki Ichigo and Hitsugaya Toshiro were attacked by two beings who had not been restrained by the original Yoichi and Sagbi, and had turned from broken faces into statues, destroying their place of gravity. At the same time, because of Kenpachi's departure, the fear disappeared, plus the sentence of Hitsugaya Toshiro, Sojiro Kusaka who handed it over to me, and Sojiro Kusaka, who rekindled his anger, released a thick and long ice dragon, so that they may not be able to dodge or even be attacked by the time it falls down again. All the painstaking efforts just now may be in vain. Immediately Benkai, extending the Baboon King Shiwaimaru so that Hitsugaya Toshiro and Kurosaki Ichigo have a place to rest as a leverage point, and can release the attack wholeheartedly without concern. 616-617 The stunning performance of 8,000 streams. Toshiro, you actually want to defeat me just because you are now naive. Sojiro Kusanagi shouted angrily. At this time, he no longer had the Zanpakudo. It should be said that the Zanpakudo had merged with him. You don't need Zanpakudo to summon an ice dragon. A purple ice dragon broke through the ice column and roared in midair with an icy aura, biting at Toshiro Hishugaya like a living creature. Go. Benkai. Big Gurren Hinranmaru. I have to say, just to compete with the power of Hinranmaru Shikai, Hitsugaya Toshiro now also believes that the power of Shikai is not comparable to the current Grass Crown. With the increase of Wangyan's power to make him the power of the Harinmaru has increased, and Hitsugaya Toshiro can only be the enemy of Benkai. However, once Benkai Hitsugaya Toshiro's advantage came immediately. After all, the further liberation of Zanpakudo was much stronger than that of Shikai. Facing the same source Zanpakudo, the big Gurren ice wheel after Hitsugaya Toshiro Benkai Maru overwhelmed the huge purple ice dragon in the grass crown in one fell swoop. Heaven locks the moon. Kurosaki Ichigo is also Benkai plus blurred. After seeing Hitsugaya Toshiro blocking the ice dragon, he immediately accelerated and rushed in front of Sojiro Kusanagi. The black crescent moon has already appeared, but unfortunately he has not had time. When he released it, Kusakagwan Sojiro seemed to have expected him to come. He raised his head and opened his mouth to strike, and the yellow ray like a phantom not only offset the crescent moon, but even made Kurosaki Ichigo smoke. Ice dragon spins in the air. Hitsugaya Toshiro Benkai's Big Gurren Ice Rinwan is not the only ice dragon that can release the blade. Many people mistakenly think that there is only one ice dragon. In fact, as long as Hitsugaya Toshiro thinks, ice dragons can be formed within his control range, just like now. Using the icicle made by Sojiro as a cover, the ice block at Sojiro's feet cracked, and an ice dragon head appeared directly, biting on Sojiro's neck, and the icy chill was actually in Sojiro's original place. A layer of ice of different colors is frozen again on the body composed of ice block. Obviously, the strength of Hitsugaya Toshiro is indeed far beyond the level of the original book. Even the same ice, the same source of ice, can be frozen again. If it is said that the most difficult thing is to freeze the ice of Hitsugaya Toshiro, it is frozen with different attributes can even be said to be the same origin of Sojiro Kusanagi's Hingrenwan, but he has done it now. It is indeed worthy of the title of genius. His genius is definitely more than Kuchiki Byakuya. You must know that even Kuchiki Byakuya, Jingle Chunchui has never said that he can surpass himself, let alone like Hitsugaya Toshiro. It is said that Hitsugaya Toshiro can surpass himself in 100 years. So don't underestimate Hitsugaya Toshiro just because he was beaten by Aizen for a second. How can the Shinigami who can possess the strongest Zanpakuto in the ice and snow type be a dragon's trick? What he lacks is only time and one more time. Just a little chance, just like Liu Chengkong back then. However, Liu Chengkong relied on his own efforts and hard work to win all the time he lacked. He has always been far ahead of everyone, and the Isle is rewarded for diligence. Opportunities are always reserved for those who are prepared, not for staying in captains who only deal with documents in their own team building, death gods, or those nobles who stay at home with nothing to do. Opportunity. His whole body was obviously injured by the high-density spiritual pressure impact, but his little strong nerves could still hold on. Seeing Sojiro Kusanagi being entangled by Hitsugaya Toshiro's ice dragon, he knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime event. The ketone opportunity, Tionsuo Zanyu directly fell on the head of the grass-crowned Sojiro without any expense. He can only chop a few times for himself. How can he have any skills in kendo? But in such a situation, the direct chop, combined with the crescent moon after the virtual bankai, is the most powerful. Maybe so a few direct attacks are the most suitable for Tionsuo Zanyu, the Zanpakuto, because it is these few attacks that can maximize the power of Tionsuo Zanyu's unique stunt. Look at the move, Crescent Moon Sky Chong. Kurosaki Ichigo held the handle of Tionsuo Zanyu's sword with his right hand, and pressed his left hand on his right hand. The blade spewed out directly and penetrated Sojiro Kusaka's head. He can't control the power of Wang Yin at all, let alone control time and space to go back to the past, and now the Bankai of Hitsugaya Toshiro and the Bankai of Kurosaki Ichigo's Bankai plus abnormity have joined forces to make Wang Yin unable to. The damage was recovered, and it was the most deadly part of the head that was attacked. Therefore, he is destined to only drink and hate this. Although he is still alive, he does not have much time to hang up the boat in a few seconds, and he can only leave incomplete last words. Are we still friends? Although things developed according to Hitsugaya Toshiro's imagination in the end, there was no relief and joy in his heart, only more pain and sadness, which made people couldn't help but ask. If Kusanagi Sojiro didn't get angry anymore. He already understood the difficulties of Hitsugaya Toshiro. Without enough strength to support the wildness, even if Hitsugaya Toshiro didn't take action, he would die miserably. I understand why Hitsugaya Toshiro did this. Just when Sojiro Kusanagi couldn't even leave a complete last words, a delicate and ethereal voice sounded abruptly as if penetrating the air. Mental disturbance. As soon as this voice came, the god of death who heard the voice, such as Broken Bee, who often went to Lu Mansion, immediately said, "It's the grass deer Bachanliu." Speaking of which, Kawu Bachanliu's strength is also very mysterious. Very few people have seen her take action, but no one has ever doubted her strength. The pink light seemed to contain the will to interfere with time and space, making the space and time around Sojiro, who had lost half of his body and was unable to speak the last words, stagnated, and Sojiro's body no longer dissipated. Such a terrifying ability can actually interfere with time and space, which is really an amazing performance. Some of the death gods who have never seen the strength of the 8,000 streams are even more horrified. Sure enough, any of the three giants is a terrifying existence. Look, Xiaokong, how good I am, but no one can do it except my mother and me. Bachanliu said with a flowery smile. It was as innocent as a child who won the first place and asked his parents for it. Like a reward, her smile is definitely contagious. At least even the sad Toshiro hears Yakiryu's elf-like voice and sees that pure and refined smile, and the sadness in his heart seems to dilute a lot. 617-618 The fusion of two ice wheel pills. Especially when he looked up and saw Sojiro Kusanagi's body actually stopped dissipating, his heart was filled with joy. Although he insisted on fighting with Sojiro, or even killing him, it was completely based on his inability to keep him, and because the strength and wildness of Sojiro did not match, he would definitely die in the hands of other people in the Soul Society, or even kill him. Life is not as good as death, and he may be executed in a terrifying manner, which is worse than death, so he will do this. If Liu Chengkong intervenes and saves Sojiro Kusanagi, he will be happier, and he will have no worries, but unfortunately this is obviously impossible. Unless Uno Hanaratsu goes out of his way to rescue him, even Orihime Inoue, with her current Reiatsu and the development level of Shunshield Rika, can't keep Sojiro, whose soul damage is about to dissipate. To know that Sojiro Kusanagi is not dead now, it is completely Yachianryu's ability to use his Zanpakuto to interfere with the passage of space and time, but it does not last long. After all, even if the strength of Yachianryu is strong, it is impossible to maintain this state of interfering with time and space for a long time. As long as Yachianryu is resolved, the grass-crowned Sojiro will immediately return to ashes. Well, my Bachianryu is the most powerful. Liu Chengkong has never been stingy with his praise for Bachianryu, and Bachianryu's performance is really amazing, and Bachianryu's Zanpakuto he is new. That ability is indeed very unique and mysterious. Perhaps it is compared with a simple special mystery. If it is not powerful, it may only be compared to Suzuki Unohana who can use the ability of thousands of Zanpakuto. Dangsha, I am the most powerful. Hearing Liu Chengkong's praise, Bachinliu immediately raised his head proudly and sipped a sip on Liu Chengkong's face, then giggled. I know what you want to say, it's nothing more than asking me to save him, but it's a pity that it's not that I don't save him. It's easy to save Sojiro Kusanagi, but if you want to save the current soul from fatal damage, as soon as Yachinliu lets go of his mental interference, he will. The grass-crowned Sojiro, who was wiped out in ashes, was 10. Difficulty dividing. At least I can't do it, and I'm not here to save him. Liu Chengkong glanced at Hitsugaya Toshiro, his expression hesitant to say, how could Liu Chengkong not be able to guess what he was thinking? Well, Liu Chengkong's words immediately shattered Hitsugaya Toshiro, who had just raised a glimmer of hope. Cough, it's not a sad thing, isn't it, death? It's not the first time for me, what's there to be afraid of? Tell me, you must have something to do here. After seeing the strength of Zengi Kenpachi, if he saw Liu Chengkong at ordinary times, he would definitely be in awe and fear, but now that he is a dying person, there is nothing to be afraid of. It's very simple, let the Hingren pill in Hitsugaya Toshiro's hand fuse with yours, and let him get the real and complete original Ice and Snow, the strongest Zanpakuto. Liu Chengkong's words made Hitsugaya Toshiro and Kusamaru Sojiro look up at the same time, and even the god of death below widened his eyes. Only old man Yamamoto, Kuchiki Shanghei and Hiroko Mako understood what was going on. No wonder, I said that there is something wrong with this most powerful Zanpakuto of the Ice and Snow type. It seems that its power is lacking. It turns out that the source is divided into two parts. The origin of Sojiro Kusanagi was weak before, and he didn't understand Bankai, so he only occupied 1/3 of it, so that's how it is. As expected of the god of death who has survived for thousands of years, the old man Yamamoto has Liu Chengkong's reminder and his experience to understand why he used to see Hitsugaya Toshiro as the strongest Zanpakuto in the same series as himself. Weird feeling, the original source is missing 1/3. What did I think it was? Bingloon pill was already shamed in my hands. I'm already dead. Of course I don't mind if you can help my best friend while I was alive. Whatever you do, you can do it anyway. Do something to me. Sojiro Kusanagi's face didn't change at all, instead he felt a little bit of joy. If he dissipates, the ice wheel pill will also dissipate, then Hitsugaya Toshiro may only have 2/3 of the origin of the ice wheel pill in his life. Now it's better if someone solves it. In fact, every step of a series of Zanpakuto owners with the title of the strongest Zanpakuto needs to go through a lot of experience. If they succeed, they will not own it. Yes, even if there were, it would be as crippled as Hitsugaya Toshiro. The same is true of Matsumoto Renki's original work. Her experience was already difficult, and her bad luck was taken away by Aizen's spiritual power, which made her worse than Hitsugaya Toshiro. The Zanpakuto can only be weakened to the point of having an ordinary Zanpakuto of the Qingfeng type. The same is true of Zanpakuto, who violated the power of the gods, as well as Nelia Lu, Saifeng Yuan Yaiki, and Zanaki Kenpachi. Of course, the original Nelly Lu didn't reach that level, and couldn't get it, but Sifeng Yuan Yei got it, but she never used it. The experience of Zanpakutaki's original work is to devour the Zanpakuto sword spirit in his hand, but unfortunately he never thought of doing so in the original work, let alone swallowing it up, so his Zanpakuto in the original work has never been able to be released. Also belongs to the god of death who has not passed the experience. Of course, it can be said that he has not even crossed. It can be said that if you can truly complete the experience at this point, you can have a complete series of the strongest Zanpakuto or the Zanpakuto that offends the realm of the gods. You don't need to be grateful to me, I have a reason for doing this, but you don't need to know this reason, maybe you will know later, but these have nothing to do with me. 8,000 mobile hands. Lu Chengkong waved his hand, indicating that Hitsugaya Toshiro didn't need to be grateful to him. That's right, the reason he did this was entirely because of Hina Moritao's dedication. He had already become his wife. He didn't want to feel any debt. Sendao completely returned to her heart. And the best way to do this is to start from Hitsugaya Toshiro. After all, in the soul world, only Hitsugaya Toshiro is the younger brother of Hinata Mori, and Hinamori also completely regards Hitsugaya Toshiro as his own younger brother. Look, so it's best to start with him. After Lu Chengkong believed that he had done this, Xindao knew that she should know why she did this because of her intelligence, and she would completely return to her heart, and she would not have any dissent from now on. 618-619 The Real Ice Wheel Pill. Look at me, the grace of nature. Bachenliu's pupils turned pink with a swipe, the spiritual pressure all over his body overflowed, and the space suddenly began to vibrate. With the full teaching and help of Lu Chengkong and Bachenliu, with the help of Lu Chengkong and Bachenliu, how could Qinliu's diligence and talent be inferior? Looking at the strength of her spiritual pressure, it is obvious that she has reached the peak of Skrito, and she can even reach the level of a quasi-void king within one step. Once she makes a breakthrough, she can reach the level of a real virtual king. Obviously, the strength of Bachenliu has always been they are all chasing after Lu Chengkong. However, after the battle between the virtual circle and Wang Zuling Wang, Lu Chengkong's strength is far ahead of the 8,000 streamers. Even Mao Zhawali said that if the Lingwang and Wang Shu do not merge, Lu Chengkong will definitely be singled out. I am not afraid of anyone, not even in the face of a siege by two people. Of course, I don't know if I can win in the face of a siege. After knowing all this, Bachenliu didn't want to be left far behind Lu Chengkong, but she didn't want to be unable to keep up with Lu Chengkong in the future because of her strength, and she would not only not be able to help in some battles, she couldn't even follow behind, and couldn't keep up with Lu Chengkong in the future. That way, even in battle, she can sit on Lu Chengkong's shoulders. This is her persistence and desire all along, so of course she has to practice with more heart. Hitsugaya Toshiro and Kusakamakiro only felt that they, including their soul and the soul-chopping sword, were controlled and restrained by an invisible force that could not be seen by the naked eye. He couldn't move, and even the soul-chopping sword couldn't be disbanded. If it was in battle, it would definitely be terrifying. Sure enough, none of the three giants was blown out. They are all terrifying. This Bakion Ryu is even more terrifying than Zanaki Kenpachi, and that ability is so mysterious and strange. Kyuju and Sojiro sighed inwardly, while Nippon was on the side. Ji-Yu Dongshilang is not like this. She looks about the same age as me, how can she be so terrifying? Aizen feels like an ant in front of her. Hitsugaya Toshiro's heart is like the yellow river bursting its banks, and his heart is overturned and the sea can't be calm. He looks about the same height as himself, and looks like the age of the two is very similar. Of course, Hitsugaya Toshiro doesn't want to be a Bachenliu, who looks the same age as himself, and is also a little girl. It's a pity that the truth is always more cruel. Let Hitsugaya Toshiro recognize himself again, and at the same time recognize how big the world is. It really is in response to the words of Ujawali, the world is as big as the heart is. Hitsugaya Toshiro has tasted more defeats and trials than the original, but he also got more than the original. Not to mention anything else, just making his heart bigger is enough for him to benefit endlessly. He can't compare with the original book, not to mention that Hitsugaya Toshiro is about to get the original book. The strongest soul-killing knife in the ice and snow system, the Ice Wheel Pill, contains the entire origin. Therefore, although Hitsugaya Toshiro is small, his state of mind is not comparable to Kuchiki Byakuya back then. At least he can remain calm, neither resentful nor inferior, does not feel unbalanced, and does not shirk his responsibilities just because he is defeated, complaining against the heavens and others. His defeat is entirely because his strength is not as good as others, and he cultivates and becomes stronger to regain his place. It is his thoughts that make his mood constantly improve. With the manipulation of 8000 style, 2 ice wheel pills flew out from the hands of Toshiro and Sojiro Kusanagi, and they intersected in midair. A VV's somewhat harsh metal roar sounded in the sky, the old man Yamamoto. The others only felt that the 2 soul-killing knives had turned into 2 ice dragons, one blue and one purple. The blue one seemed to be a little more abundant, and it was more slender and sturdy than the purple ice dragon. Soon the 2 ice dragons were biting each other in midair, and they fought. From the beginning, they were evenly matched, and gradually the blue ice dragon suppressed the purple one. Although in Shikai's case, Sojiro Kusaka's Shikai was more powerful than the Winter Lion Lang Chang, but it was entirely because of Wang Yin. At this time, he was simply competing for the original power of the soul-chopping sword. Of course, Sojiro was defeated. Fusion. A smile flashed across Bachinliu's serious face. It was really fun to control 2 ice dragons today, but she didn't forget her business because of her play. She always integrated play and entertainment into battle. In peacetime, this will not only not delay things, but also allow yourself to have fun. The blue ice dragon suddenly roared. The dragon body swayed, roaming freely in the sky like a dragon entering the sea, and directly wrapped the purple ice dragon around the entire dragon body like a python wrapping food. The purple ice dragon went through a fierce fight just now. He didn't have much strength for a long time, but he struggled violently, who was unwilling to be assimilated again. It's a pity that no matter how hard he struggled, he could not escape the fate of reintegration. With the snapping sound of Bachinliu's small hands, the blue ice dragon suddenly burst into blue light, and the dazzling light was directly covered by the purple ice dragon he was entangled in, and the blue light became more and more the more light. In the end, it was even so dazzling that people couldn't see what was happening in the light. Of course, this kind of light is dispensable to Lu Chengkong and others, and he sees everything that happens inside, and as the owner of the blue ice dragon, Hitsugaya Toshiro obviously feels that the previous kind of the feeling of being lacking, but not knowing where the lack is, has slowly disappeared. At the same time, he clearly felt that his spiritual pressure had improved. Obviously, Hingrenwan and him were one. The origin of Hingrenwan completely returned and became stronger. Of course, Hitsugaya Toshiro, who was the same soul, was improved. When the light dissipated, the blue and purple ice dragons disappeared, and the only thing left was a soul-killing knife that flew towards Toshiro. Obviously, this one will be Hiranju, Spirit King, and Old Man Yamamoto. Like the soul-chopping blades owned by others, they are the strongest soul-chopping blades of the ice and snow element with complete origins. Dongshilang, there's only so much I can help you. Remember, never use external force to improve your strength. Even if that treasure can bring you great power, don't use it, it will destroy you. Sojiro Kusanagi showed a relieved smile. It turned out that he had been dragging Toshiro Hitsugaya's hind legs all these years, and now he has no regrets. Of course the latter knew what was going on when he heard the words, and nodded resolutely. I will remember it myself. He still has a minute to spare, let's talk if he has anything to say. Lu Chengkong understood that the resurrection of Sojiro Kusanagi was the experience of Hitsugaya Toshiro to obtain the strongest soul-killing sword of the complete ice and snow system, but unfortunately the original Hitsugaya Toshiro, although he also defeated Sojiro Kusanagi, but it was not him who killed Sojiro Kusaki, but Ichigo Kurosaki. 619-620 Young Forest Peach returning. If it was a heads-up fight, Hitsugaya Toshiro defeated Kusama Sojiro's Harinmaru head-on, then even if Hitsugaya Toshiro didn't know how to do it, the hip Shugaru Toshiro in his hand would fuse with the one who was defeated by his master and was completely convinced purple ice wheel pills. It's a pity that it was Kurosaki Ichigo who killed the grass crown in the end, and that knife also made the original Hitsugaya Toshiro lose this opportunity. God rewards hard work, although you may not get as much as you pay, but if you don't pay, you will never get it. Harvested. Now, although Hitsugaya Toshiro did not defeat Sojiro Kusanagi by himself, but with the help of Liu Chengkong and Yachinliu, the source of Hinranmaru was able to compete, but it was made up for Hitsugaya Toshiro. It has the truly strongest ice and snow soul slasher, Bing Lun Wan, instead of a defective Bing Lun Wan. Thank you. Although Liu Chengkong said that there was a reason for helping him, there was no need to be grateful, but Hitsugaya Toshiro had to nod his head to thank him. If nothing else, he just wanted Sojiro to talk to himself. It was already a kind of kindness, let alone getting him the most powerful soul-chopping blade of the ice and snow element. Liu Chengkong shook his head. He is not a good person. He rarely helps a person without any reason. I did this for a reason. He didn't say much about Hitsugaya Toshiro's thanks. Chiryu and Nellie L., who didn't speak for a while, kept a simple and beautiful smile that made people feel relaxed and happy when they looked at it, and the three of them left immediately. It comes like wind and rain and goes like dust, so he's cool. Hirako Mako said, holding her chin in her hand, but she was kicked out by a slipper from Hiyori who came here at an unknown time. It's not you bastard. What did you say when you came back to be the captain? That Urahara Kazuki was lazy and often didn't take a bath, causing me to deal with a lot of documents every day, saying that the minority obeyed the majority to come back here. It's all your fault. I still want to be cool, and today you roll over for me and help me process all the documents before leaving. Quote. Hiyori's slippers attack is really like what Heiji Mako said, it comes like wind and rain and goes away like dust. Even though Hirako Mako's strength is now stunned, he can't dodge it, and he was shot and flew out and was pressed by Hiyori. On the ground, under the gazes of countless Reaper team members, Reaper captains, vice captains, Xingjun, and the others, they slapped Hirako Mako's face with slippers. It's none of your business to hang up high. Kuchiki Shanghai threw out Liu Chengkong's wise words, and took a Sanjing Renji to leave directly. Obviously, he didn't want to be affected by the unpredictable disaster, and Jingle Chunchui and others who knew Hiyori were people. She ran away as she was, completely ignoring the pitiful and grief-stricken cry for help from Mako Hirako. Jingle Chunchui even seemed to have all the wounds on his body disappeared. He didn't need Shizuru Yukitaki to support him, and he could leave by stepping on Shunbu. It was empty and only a few gods of death were left, which shows how powerful Hiyori is. Remember what I said. 1 minute passed quickly, and Sojiro Kusanagi's body was dissipating at a speed visible to the naked eye again, but he didn't care. Instead he looked at Hitsugaya Toshiro seriously. Eyes. Yeah. Hitsugaya Toshiro lowered his head, otherwise Sojiro Kusanagi saw the sadness in his eyes, but he still nodded ruthlessly, echoing what Sojiro Kusanagi just said. The most important thing is never use external force to improve your strength, even if that treasure can bring you great power. Don't use it, it will destroy you. If possible, definitely don't make Liu Chengkong an enemy. In addition to gaining the power of Wang Yin, I also learned some secrets that only the royal family can know. There are many levels above Captain Death. It is very likely that Liu Chengkong has reached the level that only Spirit King, Wang Shu, and the leader of the Zero Division can achieve in the legend. If it really reaches the point where it is unavoidable, you can just run away. You can escape as far as you can. Remember. Then I can leave with peace of mind. Sojiro Kusanagi no longer had any regrets, but left with a relieved smile. When Sojiro Kusanagi's body completely dissipated, Hitsugaya Toshiro couldn't bear the sadness in his heart any longer, the corners of his eyes. 2 drops of water remain. Not to mention the old man Yamamoto and his party who were in the aftermath. Liu Chengkong had already returned to Liu Mansion at this time, but the other people who accompanied him and Ujiwali, who had watched the performance of Bachinliu, stayed there just to watch Liu Chengkong, and now it's over. She is no longer the captain of the 4th Division, of course, she has to leave with her husband and son. And Toru Yuyan Huaji resigned with her after knowing that Ujawali had resigned. From this, it can be seen how powerful the personality of Ujawali is, and it can make a deputy captain level death without the slightest reluctance or the slightest. Unwilling and unhappy, he resigned directly and followed him away. To this, Hanalei just showed a strange smile and didn't say anything. After returning to Lu Mansion, Lu Chengkong obviously noticed that the eyes of young Sentao looking at him had changed. Compared with before, it was a little softer and moved, and the last resentment and pimples in his heart had disappeared. The curtain saw everything Lu Chengkong did, and she was smart, of course, understood why Lu Chengkong did it. Therefore, in addition to being happy, surprised and moved, there was also a little bit of joy in her heart. She didn't expect that this man who can be said to be turning his hands into clouds and rains in the world of dead souls would actually spend so much effort for himself. She was very happy to have an innocent heart for a moment, and even her lower body didn't seem to be in pain anymore. No matter what, after she had dedicated herself, she already knew that she had been closely connected with Lu Chengkong in her whole life, whether she was happy or not, this man was surrounded by such a woman who was also a daughter. She couldn't help seeing Zan's envy of the stunning beauty who was ashamed of herself. There is also Lu Chengkong's identity, status, and strength who don't need to care about himself at all, and now suddenly seeing this man who doesn't care too much about him in his opinion actually spends so much effort because of himself, she is smart, of course know why Lu Chengkong did that. Therefore, the heart of young Sentao at this moment can be said to be full of ups and downs, but no matter what it is a good thing for Lu Chengkong. You can get the heart of Hina Sendao.